Story 1. My 21F boyfriend, 22M, gets so jealous over his brother's 26M girlfriend, 28F, that he cries until he vomits. Original post. Reddit. September 30th, 2020. My boyfriend Jake and I are high school sweethearts and share an apartment with his brother Finn. Finn has been seeing a woman named Bonnie for the past 3 months. They met over Tinder, and with certain restrictions lifting, we're finally getting to spend time with her IRL. She's a really great person, and she and Finn are stupidly into each other. Like, accidentally finishing each other's sentences in love, staring at each other with big, gooey eyes in love. It's kinda gross, but kinda sweet. A couple of days ago, I noticed that Jake's been acting weird. He's been a lot quieter and a bit colder to me, going to bed early, getting up late. I tried to kiss him, and he turned away. Yesterday, when Finn was out, I asked what was up with him. He started off kinda hostile, but when I said that I was really feeling hurt, he blew up. Summarized, he told me that he was rethinking our entire relationship after listening to his brother talk about Bonnie. He said that Bonnie asked for Finn's preference when she cut her hair and didn't get bangs, when he said he thought they looked stupid when I got a pixie without asking Jake what he'd think first. He said that Bonnie gave Finn a blowjob every night before bed, and one every morning when he woke up, when I don't really like oral, giving or receiving. He said I never offer to give him massages or pack his lunch. For clarification, I do things for him all the time, but we've never been lovey-dovey. We don't even celebrate Valentine's Day, his suggestion. We both always agreed it was stupid and unrealistic. In fact, we always used to make fun of people for being sappy and definitely gave Finn hell for a bit over being so gooey. He was crying by the end of it, saying that he felt sick over missing out on someone who would love him that much. I said I loved him, but he didn't want to hear it. He started gagging and threw up a little bit because he was crying so hard. I didn't know what else to do, so I got him some water and went to bed. I went to work early, and I've been hanging out at a coffee shop, but I have to go home soon. I have no idea where to go from here or what to say to him. I don't even know if we're still together. Help? Just with all of this shit. Top comments. Drincourt. In a million years, I would never be able to look at my partner again if they said something like this to me. I'd be out the door for good. Jesse_monster. And then started crying so much they threw up? No thank you. That kind of entitlement and immaturity is a boner killer. Outdated opinion. He sounds like a grown-up version of Eric from South Park. Update October 3rd, 2020, 3 days later. Sorry I didn't respond to anyone's comments. I went home after posting, and by the time I logged back on to Reddit, the post had been locked. A few of you asked for the update, so here it is. I'm single. I came home and Jake was gone. Finn was there and asked if I could sit down for a bit. He wouldn't give me the exactly details, but said that he and Jake had talked while I was out. He also showed me a few text messages to prove it. Apparently, Finn had never shared any details with his brother, but Jake had been able to hear them moan through the walls when Bonnie stayed over. It wasn't a bro talk or anything after all. Just the man I thought was going to marry listening to his brother have sex through the walls. Neat. When Finn got home from work, Jake tried joking about it and made comments about Bonnie's race. Finn kicked him out, and now Jake is going to be staying with their parents, so I have to pay his share of the rent too, because Finn refuses to let him in and Jake refuses to come back. Double neat. A few people had questions, so here we go. Did Jake ever mention wanting romantic gestures? No. We actually got together because we were the only goths in school. We bonded over being against lovey-dovey stuff like that. We grew out of the edgy phase, but yeah. He always was firm he hated Valentine's Day, and women who needed roses or gifts to feel loved. Has he ever done anything like this before? Now that I think about it, yeah. He's thrown tantrums before, but never like this. Things like carry-out orders for getting his side dishes or stores running out of his favorite items always made him really emotional. Why don't you like oral? Bad incident involving Jake's braces left me with some scarring down there. He liked deep-throating. 0/10. I feel sorry for Bonnie. I don't want to know any more details about their relationship, but they seem happy. They work at the same high-intensity job, think physical trainers or OT, so she packs meal-prepped bento boxes for him and herself. Finn buys her flowers, fixes her car, goes over when spiders get into her apartment. Like I said, they're cute. This is fake. Listen, man, that's your right to believe it. Even I think it's fake, and I'm the one that has to figure out how to ship 200 Funko Pops to my ex. So there you go. Top comments. Myths are recrazy stories. I'm the one that has to figure out how to ship 200 Funko Pops to my ex. Nope, his brother can figure that shit out. That dude is no longer your responsibility. You also don't have to pay double rent. Jake can pay rent for a place he doesn't live in. You need to find a new place to live, so you don't have to be surrounded by a reminder of your past relationship. Exterminatus 4 life. He had 200 Funko Pops. It was doomed from the start. Story 2. My F23 best friend's fiancé, F22, is jealous of me and wants me out of his life. He broke off the engagement. How can I help reassure her and calm him down? Original post, Reddit, July 16, 2020. Hey all! So here's the backstory. I've been best friends with this guy that we'll call Troy, 23, since we were in 8th grade. All throughout high school, we hung out together with our other mutual best friend, Adam. All three of us hung out quite a bit and did nearly everything together. In high school, we had our fair share of losses and trauma. There was a point where both Adam and Troy stayed at my house for a couple of months prior to college due to home problems, so I think we got closer than usual friends because we learned to lean on each other so much. Fast forward to college, and all three of us went to different colleges, but we would all FaceTime each other every other day. Leaving our families and each other was rough for us, and we had developed a sort of codependency on each other in high school, and our continuing communication every day didn't help the situation, but we were coping. Come sophomore year, Troy started dating his now fiancée, Emily. They get on well and are a great couple. I'm very happy for them. From the beginning, Troy was very clear that I was just a friend and that he tells me and Adam everything. She was all right with it as far as I knew at the time. So it wasn't uncommon for us to hear about his relationship problems and fights they were having. When Adam and I went to visit him and met her for the first time, she was very kind to us, albeit a little awkward, but that's understandable. Whenever we would visit him, he would kind of ignore her and hang out with us exclusively, and we pointed that out to him. But he always dismissed it as he saw her every day and us maybe once every 6 months. I let it slide because it wasn't my fight to fight. I think it was our visits and his neglect of her that started her bitterness towards me. Years went by, though, and now they're engaged. Adam was chosen as the best man, and I meant to be a groomsman in his wedding. A few months ago, our best friend Adam committed suicide expectantly. Troy and I were and still are devastated. It came out of nowhere, and we blame ourselves even though we know it's not our fault. I live alone in an apartment and expressed to Troy that I was distressed and lonely, especially due to the COVID lockdown. Troy dropped everything to come live with me for a few weeks as we dealt with our grief and could talk to each other about it. We're both in therapy right now for grief. A week ago, Troy got a call from Emily that she wants him back at their apartment now because she doesn't trust him with me. She went off that he was cheating on her with me and that he should be choosing her over me. He got upset with her and basically told her he was grieving, and she didn't understand what he was going through, but that I did. It came down to a point where Emily gave him an ultimatum and said that Troy could either choose me or her. He said it was unfair of her to make him choose between two important people in his life, and that if she can't understand that he needs me, then maybe they weren't meant to be together. She was hurt by that statement and told him she needed to cool off and think. So they hung up. Today Emily texted me asking if I had feelings for him, and I said no. She then called me and asked if I loved him, and I told her yes, but as a brother. I'd do anything for Troy. She told me if I did love him, I would take a step back and let her have him. I told her that this is a conversation she needs to have with him, and that I'm tired of being in the middle of it. She got angry with me and hung up, and I immediately told Troy about my conversation with her. He called her and broke up with her. I think it was hasty and emotional, and I'm trying to talk him out of it, but I'm not sure what else I can do. Can you all give me some advice? I feel like this is my fault for asking him to come stay with me. Edit, July 16, 2020. Hey all! It's been a few hours since I posted this, and I didn't expect to get all these responses. Thank you all for your input. It's really helped me get some perspective. I've been told that my relationship with both Troy and Adam was detrimental to the rest of the relationships, and I was taking steps to fix that, but with Adam's death and the COVID stress, all the lessons I've been learning kind of flew out the window. That's no excuse for how I've been behaving. Troy is a dear friend, and I've been sabotaging his relationships with other people unknowingly. That's not fair to him or to the people in his life. I've considered Emily a friend too since I've met her, but I haven't been a good friend to her either. Since I've posted this, Troy broke down about his breakup and regrets breaking up with her. He texted her and they agreed to try to talk things out in a couple of days when they have both had time to consider everything. I showed Troy this thread, and he got to hear what you all were saying too, so hopefully that helps. He and I agreed we need some space apart, so he will stay at my apartment, and I'm staying on the couch of a coworker. Again, thank you all for your input, for those who supported me, and those who called Troy and me out on our behavior. Hopefully, with our continued therapy and eventual boundaries, we can maintain a healthy friendship as well as have healthy relationships with other people. Top comments. Naps are my favorite. I don't think there is anything you can do here. If I'm Emily, I am seeing my fiancé, my future husband, in a codependent relationship with another woman, whom he tells everything about our relationship, who regularly ignores and abandons me to hang out with her when she visits, and who literally moved in with her during his grief. How can she be his wife when he turns to you exclusively to the point of moving in with you when he needs support? This is not a man who is ready to marry. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I'm just saying he clearly doesn't want her in the wife role. If I was her, I would have skipped the ultimatum and just dumped him. It's obvious she can never come close to the role you play in his life. BH0000. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. Well, shit, I'll say it. I feel badly for OP, especially with the loss of her friend. But Emily is absolutely 100% right. How humiliating it must have been for her to even have to issue an ultimatum, but what else could she do? And then he confirmed her worst fears and chose OP over her. There is nothing about this relationship that is okay for a man in an engaged or married situation. He left his soon-to-be wife to go live with another woman during a global pandemic, and she asked him to. He ditches his fiancée for OP whenever she's around. What's that all about? It was OP's responsibility to tell him that if he's going to be married, she needs to be brought into the group, even if only because he wasn't willing to set up that expectation himself. Frankly, they deserve one another, and I hope Emily finds herself a real loyal man. Edit based on OP's latest update. Hopefully, with our continued therapy and eventual boundaries, we can maintain a healthy friendship as well as have healthy relationships with other people. I feel like I'm in the fucking Twilight Zone. Are you kidding me, OP? Eventual boundaries? No. Immediate boundaries. That's the easy part. Hey, I won't ask an engaged man to abandon his fiancée during a global pandemic and live with me and pretend that I didn't know any better because of my grief. See how easy that was? GTFOH with your eventual boundaries. Update. Reddit, July 28, 2020. Hey, y'all! I thought I'd just give you an update on what happened since I made my first post on here. A few hours after Troy broke up with Emily, he broke down in tears and was miserable. He regretted breaking up with her and texted her. They both agreed to talk to each other after a few days when they had the chance to cool off and think things through. I also texted Emily after I got some advice from a DM and apologized for everything, and how I may have hurt her. She replied with thanks, and that was it, but that was all right. I needed to apologize to her. That evening, Troy and I were able to go over the comments from the original post and talk with each other. He and I agreed we needed some space from each other, so that night I called up a coworker and asked if I could crash on their couch for a few days. They agreed, so Troy stayed at my apartment and I went to my coworker's. We didn't talk for 5 days to give each other some space. That was really hard for me because I kept overthinking that Troy hated me and that he didn't want me in his life anymore. I was convinced that I was going to lose him, and that made me miserable because we just lost Adam. But that was just anxiety speaking. He called me after a few days, saying that he had spoken with Emily and that they were back together. I was so happy for them and relieved. I wanted to ask for details, but I figured I had stuck my nose into their relationship too much, as is So I didn't ask, and Troy didn't say anything to me. He told me that I should come back to the house, though, and I asked if Emily was all right with that. He said yes, so I moved back into my apartment. When I got back to my apartment, I asked him if he was going back to his apartment with Emily. But he said no due to COVID, so he's going to stay with me for the next few weeks minimum. Having had several days apart with no communication was something new for us, so when we were together again we just talked about everything we had been thinking about. We talked about how much we missed Adam, what we could have done to help him, and how guilt we were both holding on to. It also came to the surface that Troy rushed to my side when I asked him to, because he was afraid that I was suicidal, and he didn't want to lose me either. I felt really guilty about that. I scared Troy, and that was never my intention. Then we just started talking about all the memories we had with Adam, and that was really uplifting, even if we were crying the whole time. I also told him how I was nervous during our separation time, and he said he felt the same way. We laughed at that and agreed that we need to work on our independence from each other more. The next day I got a call from Emily and answered it. She wanted to apologize for assuming I was with Troy and talk about the text I sent her. She and I had an emotional talk for a couple of hours, but eventually we saw where the other was coming from. She often thought that Adam and I didn't like her, but that was only because he and I hadn't properly included her whenever we were with Troy. However, at the end of the talk, we agreed that we should talk to each other more since Troy is significant in each of our lives. It was good to talk with her and clarify everything. She is a super sweet and considerate woman, and I think she's perfect for Troy. I'd love to be her friend, too. Troy and I are going to therapy and are working on our codependence and our grief counseling in our separate therapy sessions. I've also started looking into a codependence group, and I think I'll start attending those meetings. But since there's just one in town, Troy isn't going to join because we don't want to go to the same one. Emily also said that Troy and she are going to start couples therapy, so when he moves back with her, that is what they will be doing. So that's the update. Emily and Troy are back together. Troy will be with me for the next few weeks, and Emily and I started building our friendship. Hopefully from here on out, there will be more communication between those two, and better boundaries between me and Troy. Troy and I are willing to put in the effort, and Emily is supportive of us, so I'm optimistic. I'm sure Adam is happy that we're moving forward together. If y'all have any more advice for me or any words of encouragement, I would love to hear them. Thank you all for your help with the initial post, though. I don't think this situation would be getting better if you all hadn't helped Troy and me open our eyes. So thank you. Relevant comment. 873-19496. Am I the only one who thinks the issue itself isn't resolved whatsoever? I feel like you guys all talked about it without actually doing anything to fix it. The fact that he is going to continue living with you, for another few weeks at least, pretty much negates everything. Sesleist. Nothing changed. I cannot believe this situation. Imagine going to therapy for codependency, then still living together. Emily needs to get the hell out and let these two have each other. Galaxy Patio. I feel so bad that she took him back. This isn't going to change. They're still up to the same nonsense, and as soon as they feel a breakthrough on the therapy, they'll probably stop going, and then they're all back to square one. This isn't an issue that gets solved with short-term therapy. Stuff like this can take years to unravel, especially with how long they've known each other. It's just going to be him choosing OP again and again until Emily gets sick of it or manages to get him to cut her off. Update July 29, 2020. Wow! I did not expect the amount of hatred that this update post would receive. I thought the situation resolved itself positively. Y'all want Troy out of my apartment right away, though. So I told him that he should head home as soon as possible to be with Emily, and he admitted that he did not want to go back to Florida because of the increase of the coronavirus cases, and that he liked the relatively relaxed state of things here in my state. I told him that he was being paranoid and that he would be all right if he quarantined once he got back, so not the most sympathetic thing I could have told him. But since he works from home anyway, he can quarantine without any issues. He called Emily and they bought a plane ticket for him to head back in 3 days, so he's leaving. Emily is excited to have him back, and I'm glad that they can be back together again. If anything else changes, or if there is anything else you all want to know, just comment. I'll update this post. Story 3. IO boyfriend's best friend got him a sweater with her face on it for Christmas. Original post, January 1st, 2025. Boyfriend told me his best friend wanted to get awkward family photos taken at a department store while wearing ugly Christmas sweaters. Fine by me. Fun little thing for them to do. But today he calls and tells me she gave him the sweater they were going to wear, and it's a custom-made sweater with her dogs and her face on it. He made it clear he didn't know about it and doesn't want me to feel like he's wearing another woman's face, like he loves her, but more like he loves her dogs. It more so threw us both off, as it's an extra. We've talked about this girl multiple times and my feelings about them and boundaries. He only recently changed her name in his phone as half-girlfriend from an inside joke, and it also upset his ex, and it took me telling him it made me uncomfortable for him to change it. I know he sees me as a priority over her, but I can't help but feel uncomfortable about this. IO? Top comments. Commenter 1. Okay, so I read this to my boyfriend, and both of us audibly said, ew, when we read that your BF had changed her name to half-girlfriend. They're clearly emotionally involved. It doesn't matter if he doesn't take it seriously. She most likely has feelings for him, and it's inappropriate even if he doesn't feel the same. I would not be with a partner whom I know changed their best friends of the opposite sex name to half-girlfriend. Commenter 2. Half-girlfriend. This is weird. Frankly, I'm surprised you're still in this relationship, but that's coming from someone who's dealt with the girl best friend before. Commenter 3. As a woman with very good long-term friends who are men, some who are single, some married or in long-term relationships, this is very weird and obviously inappropriate. So don't gaslight yourself, or let yourself be told, that it's super normal and you're just being crazy low-lay. It is blatantly disrespectful to you, and the relationship and the friend girl knows that, which even if she did like him, she should be respectful, so she sucks. And he sucks for not maintaining boundaries. He's never going to be able to have a healthy relationship like this. Update. January 1st, 2025, same day, 19 hours later. I really didn't expect my first post to get the response it did. Wow. But here's an update on the situation. Last night I worked NYE while my boyfriend had the night off. He was going to go get the Christmas photos taken with his best friend. But when they realized the store was closed, they just went over to her place to hang out. He looked me in the eyes before I left and told me he wasn't going to drink. But when I called him after I got out of work, he was drunk, as his best friend told him to do shots. He's gotten drunk at her place before and stayed the night without telling me beforehand, so I really didn't know if he was planning on staying or not. I was upset, and he could tell and asked me to pick him, except it would be an hour worth of driving for me after an extra day of work to go pick him up. Thankfully, someone gave him a ride home. I ended up going home, calling a friend of mine and talking things through. He agreed that the sweater thing was weird, and the time I'm on the phone, my boyfriend calls me 5 times. I eventually hang up and call my boyfriend. He's crying and a mess, and I can barely understand him, so I get up to go see him. I've had a history of bad panic attacks, and I know how bad they are and didn't want him to be alone. He had a mental health episode and kept spewing self-hate and asking me what I saw in him, not living up to his potential, on top of a lot of other things that I didn't understand in the exhaustion, drunkenness. I let him stay the night at my place because I knew he didn't want to be alone and I was worried about him. But soon after we got home, he threw his empty vape across the room and started beating his fists on the couch and yelling, complaining about a game. I was getting incredibly concerned because I'd never seen him act like this. He almost immediately passed out after the outburst, though. He admitted he doesn't know what's been going on, but his mental health has been in a bad space lately. Last week we got in a bad fight while we were drunk with yelling and crying. We talked things through, though, and I figured we'd talk things through when we woke up, but I already wanted to send him home and be alone with his violent behavior, but he started crying when I brought it up. He spent most of the day sick in the bathroom. He said he only did 2 shots all night, so I'm not sure if he's lying or if he just ended up with a stomach bug at a bad time. At one point, he was in the bathroom and his phone wouldn't stop ringing. After the third phone call, I got up to look, and the call was from 12GF. The moment he came back out, I told him he was leaving and he was single, and I would be ordering a lift for him home. You were all right that the half-girlfriend thing was the big red flag, as weird as the sweater was. It hurt me the first time he said it, and we discussed it and he said it was a joke, but promised he understood and would change it in his phone. When I brought it up to him, he said that she had asked him to change it back, so he did. I told him he'd chosen her over me. The history behind the name is that my boyfriend used to live with her and her ex was so terrible that by comparison my boyfriend was better to her, and so she would call him her half-boyfriend. My boyfriend actually had asked her out in the past, but she rejected him, saying they were better off as friends, and he agreed, saying he didn't want to date her. Obviously, though, she has no respect for me, or for my relationship, and I can't trust my boyfriend when he's around her, so he is no longer my boyfriend. I'm a bit of a mess right now, to be honest. I'm exhausted from dealing with him and not sleeping because of it, and all of this is made worse by the fact we work together and our coworkers have been very supportive. But I feel like I've made the right choice in breaking up. Here's to starting off 2025 single. Relevant. Comment. Commenter 1. Great choice dumping him OP. Now make it a complete 100% no contact going forward. OOP, I work with him LOL, so not possible. But it's going to be very limited contact. OOP on her age and her ex's age. OP. Lamau, I'm almost 28, he's 24, and I realize I'm too old for this shit. Commenter 2. I strongly suggest that you find a new job ASAP so that you can go full NC. Your mental health will thank you. OP. Unfortunately, I now work with 2 exes, and this is the best place to work in my industry within the city. It might be uncomfortable, but I'm not giving up a good job for a boy. Additional comments from OOP after reading everyone's comments. OOP. First off, thank you for all the comments. I'm still emotional, but I'm doing better. I feel confident I've made the right choice. Some general information in regards to comments, though. Those of you that guessed he would come crawling back have already been proven correct. He texted me that he's feeling better physically, at least, and wants to do better for me. I told him I'd like to have a real conversation. I only want to talk to give us, or more, so me, the dignity of closure and to end things like adults, especially with us working together. I really don't have any desire to get back with him. I genuinely don't think he's mature enough for an adult relationship, and there's too many changes that'd need to happen for me to be happy with him. I wish the best for him, but I don't feel like I need to be there waiting for his progress. To the people that said don't date coworkers, I know it's a bad idea, but unfortunately my industry has a lot of in-dating, and sleeping around with coworkers is incredibly common. Hard to meet other people when you work nights/weekends/holidays. He was a good friend of mine before we even started dating, and I'd already liked him for a while, so I made a calculated decision, but God am I bad at math. I genuinely don't think he got drugged. He's a lightweight with alcohol, and he was also smoking that night. But I do think he may have drank more than he let on, or did some drug that he knows I wouldn't approve of. The girl's roommate, and mom, I guess, he never elaborated on that, was also present, so I don't think anything criminal happened. I genuinely don't think he cheated either. He's stupid and bad with boundaries, but he's loyal. At the very least, I'd like to believe he didn't cheat, as my last relationship ended with cheating, and I really don't want to think it's happened twice. Additional info is that he admitted to mixing up mine and her names all night, which just adds onto the pile of red flags. Story 4. Am I overreacting after I found out my boyfriend's online friend group I became part of 2 years ago has been just him the whole time? Original post, December 30th, 2024. OOP. I just want to know why. OP. When it finally came time for the Hawaii trip, how are you going to explain that? What were you thinking? Redacted. BF. You know something I've noticed about you? BF. You can never just be calm, and there always has to be an issue. I know you were raised in a volatile environment and still have to relearn a lot about healthy relationship dynamics, but it's like you thrive on chaos. Only BF, and we were going to see Wicked tonight. I guess there that goes. OOP, you can't be serious. OP, I deserve answers. I'm honestly so creeped out. OP, basically half of my life for the past 2 years has been a complete and total lie, and you were behind all of it. BF, Okay, don't be dramatic. You know this isn't a big deal, you're just giddy to harp on this and make a bigger issue. Text box below the text messages. I guess I should have been less oblivious. But since a little before we started dating in 2022, I was added to my boyfriend's, just friend at the time, 3-person Instagram group chat with what he explained were some of his closest online friends. The 2 other accounts seemed like real people because they had real followers and comments on their posts, and drastically different aesthetics looks to them. We eventually made a Discord server for us, and that alone was convincing enough since multiple times we'd all be active at the same time. We never voice chatted, but I used to never voice chat either, so I didn't think twice. The group got closer, though, as more and more time passed since I was first added to their group chat. And last month we got together and planned a research trip to Hawaii for August. We live on the east coast of the U.S. Like we booked everything. So imagine my surprise when I'm over at his house tonight and his computer is open and I just want to log into my Google Docs when I accidentally stumble across, first of all, follower bot sites, and also him logged in and chatting with me as one of the individuals I thought I had become close with, and just got this sinking feeling. I didn't jump to the idea that they could be fake either. I was like, maybe he just has their logins since they're all so close and is way too interested in their messages. But then I noticed their only chats were the group chats and the server, and the real kicker was the email address it was signed up under was his backup email with his full name. I quite literally snooped until he got out of the shower and caught me, which I'm not saying was right of me, but I couldn't help myself. During my snooping, I gradually became devastatingly confident that he wasn't behind just one, but both accounts. I've never seen his face so red, and he just absolutely panicked and started shouting at me to get out of his business. I couldn't even form the right words to say to him. In the end, I just walked out of his apartment sobbing. It's very early in the morning, I get that, but this screenshot is what he has to say, and I'm starting to feel crazy. Am I overreacting about my discovery? Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Nor ghost him and be thankful you didn't procreate. OP. I think ghosting is exactly what I'm going to do. And right, LMAO. OOP should leave her boyfriend if they live together. Not safe. OOP. Thankfully, we have never lived together, so it will be easy to discard him from my life ASAP. Commenter 2. That is seriously so fucking creepy. He probably made those accounts to try to get with you back when you were just friends, and then just contiened with the lie after he won his prize. This is gross and unsettling. I wouldn't even want to be anywhere near him after that. OP. God, yeah, that tracks. Looking back, they did hype him up an awful lot. Bruh. Ah! Brief update. December 30th, 2024, same day, 4 hours later. Copy of another text message. Transcript of one text message. BF, do you want to get our tickets off the AMC app or buy them at the theater? Just got this. He still hasn't explained himself, essentially at all. I am going to take the advice of the majority of the comments section and block on everything. Thank you so much for all of your kindness and support. I have not slept at all, as this is just such a bizarre situation, so I appreciate you all. Relevant commence. Commenter 1. This is messed up. Has he otherwise been a functional member of society? Was he afraid to admit he didn't have any friends? OP. Yes, this is honestly shocking. I thought he was just mean, sometimes not additionally crazy, and the other proper words, he has a best friend in his hometown. I assume people will be looking at my account, so I just wanted to reassure you of my safety and leave you with this for now, December 30th, 2024. Same day, 1 hour later. I honestly have the biggest migraine of my life, and I haven't slept at all. Nothing similar to this has ever happened to me before, but my life has been crazy enough to where I wasn't able to prepare for the huge reaction something like this gets. I knew it was bizarre, but I didn't know it would jump to the top of everything. I assumed it would collect some advice or opinions I could read, and then the post would get lost in the void like how it goes with the majority of my others, but I sincerely appreciate every bit of support. Unfortunately, I am also being bombarded with hate and nasty messages, and my headache keeps getting worse, so I need to get off Reddit for today, but I don't want to just ghost and make people think something horrible happened, because I am taking the steps to make sure nothing does. He does have my address, but I live with my family in an apartment building that needs a key fob to get in, so I have at least those 2 layers of safety for now, but for some reason I doubt that at least today there will be any attempts at a personal confrontation, and even then I am confident I will be able to remain safe and far away as possible in the case he does come around. I have alerted some of my real friends of the situation as well, and they will be close to me as much as they can. So please do not worry when I am not active for the rest of today. I'm just getting nauseous from my headache, and I don't want to start the day feeling like this. Top comments. Commenter 1. To add to the alt theme, this guy is clearly very adept on how to use the internet to further his own means. The fact that your posts exploded means he's likely seen them if he spends any time on Reddit, and he'll be using this as a means to get to you, your friends, and anyone you trust as a method of spreading misinformation about you. I know you're asleep, but this isn't something that you should sit on until tomorrow. I'm not sure what the correct course of action here is, but inform your family and call police non-emergency to let them know that there's an issue. They may have some indication for what to do next. I'd also arrange some scheduled wellness calls and safe words with people you trust, where if you don't check in, then it signals an alarm, and they can verify that who they're talking to is you. Tell them the safe words over the phone by voice so it can't be gleaned from your message history. I'm not trying to be dramatic or overreact here, but this kind of extreme situation requires even more extreme countermeasures. Please treat it with the gravity that it deserves. Commenter 2. Based off what he's already done, I wouldn't be surprised if he assembled a bot army to post some of the hateful, nasty responses you're getting LOL. But for real, getting offline and taking care of yourself is a good next step. Good luck. Commenter 3. Is your family aware of what's going on too? It's vital you start telling those you trust exactly what's happened so that they understand the gravity of the situation. Also, get in there before he starts lying, because he absolutely will. Commenter 4. Also, assume all of your devices are compromised. He's probably tracking you everywhere online. You need to spend some time securing your accounts and devices. Little non-update, December 30th, 2024, same day 11 hours later, I still see people concerned for my safety, so even though I'm taking a break for today, I just want to share that I have received no communication from him today, and ended up going on a hike with a friend and then out to dinner and drinks and had a nice time. I'm home with my family now, and hopefully the rest of the night is as uneventful. Story 5. Me, 24M, with my GF, 23F girlfriend has princess syndrome. Original post, August 12, 2014. Throwaway because my main can be connected to my girlfriend's blog. I have been with my girlfriend for about 5 months. We've been casual friends since college, but only began dating after she graduated. We get along really well. When I say princess syndrome, I don't mean that she is spoiled or entitled, because she isn't. Her clothes seem to take over her life. She dresses like a sort of fairy tale princess on a near-daily basis, excluding at work. Long, frilly skirts, lacy blouses, things like that. It works for her because she is very pretty and can pull it off. At first I found it to be very endearing, but then I became aware of how much time she spends on her outfits. She runs a blog that has a sizable amount of followers, and she is constantly posting outfit pictures, links to clothing items, and whatnot. She spends a few hours a day on her blog at least. Then she spends time sewing items for new outfits or for her Etsy store. When we go out, we get a lot of stares at what she's wearing. I've also caught people sneaking pictures of her on their cell phones. This attention makes me uncomfortable. I have asked her to tone it down a bit, but she took that to mean not wearing anything in her hair when we're out together. I have told her several times that I love her just the way she is, but she seems to brush it off. I had hoped when she started her new job in the career of her choice that she would become more serious, but her new boss and coworkers encourage her. I worry that people won't take her seriously or miss how kind and intelligent she is. How can I talk to her about dressing more appropriately without hurting her feelings? Her girlfriend dresses like a princess. How do I talk to her about it? Relevant comment. Commenter. Sounds like you have to get over your insecurities. This is her hobby, her interest, and she's getting positive reactions. You shouldn't be trying to change her, especially when it was something that initially drew you to her. OOP. I guess I'm having trouble seeing clothing as a hobby. I play video games as a hobby, but that doesn't cause strangers to take pictures of me when I'm trying to shop at the supermarket. I get your point that it initially drew me to her, because it did. That's fair. I guess I didn't think that it would be such a constant thing in her life, especially after she graduated. Commenter, so you love her just the way she is, but you're assuming she'll take that to mean she should change how she is? That doesn't make sense. This is how she is. She enjoys dressing up like this. Shit, she posts outfit photos online because she enjoys it so much. Other people encourage her because they do like how she is. If you don't like the attention, ask her sometime to just go out with you while she's wearing a casual outfit, but keep in mind that she already loves what she's normally wearing. OOP, this is my problem. How do I ask her to dress more casually around me without her misinterpreting what I mean again, and also not hurting her feelings? I can think of ways to say one half of that, but it doesn't work with the other half. Commenter, if you love her the way she is, why do you want her to change? Just curious. OOP. She doesn't need all the frilly stuff. She'd still look like a princess. And it's one thing for an artsy college student to dress alternatively, but she's a 23-year-old woman now. I feel like her clothing masks how smart she is and makes her appear shallow. Is it for attention? I do think it's an attention thing. She says she doesn't care about what people think about her, but she spends so much time on her blog, replying to comments and such, I kind of doubt it. She also has told me that she loves being approached by little girls while she's dressed up, which definitely makes me think it's about attention. She doesn't dress inappropriately by those standards. She is well-groomed and doesn't show much skin. But is it appropriate to wear lacy dresses and flower crowns to the supermarket? Again, it attracts unnecessary attention. Update Post 1, August 23, 2014, 11 days later. I didn't plan on updating, but things changed. I realized from my last post that I needed to be more supportive, but also communicate on how she could dress down on certain occasions so we could both be comfortable. Well, I never got a chance to talk to her about it. Last week she called and wanted to stop by my apartment after work. When she got there, I offered to make dinner, but she said she couldn't stay and we had to talk. I jokingly asked if she was breaking up with me, and she looked really guilty. You can see where this is going. We talked about how we were in different places in life and had different goals for the future. Well, she talked, but I agreed. It was a pretty amicable breakup, even though I felt blindsided. We agreed to stay friends. I've never been dumped before, and it's fucking awful. I'm having trouble with the whole social media thing post-breakup. I want a way to keep in touch with her. But as soon as her relationship status changed, all these alternative-looking guys have been liking her posts and commenting on her pictures. I don't think she's seeing these guys, but it still hurts. My friend wants to set me up on a date, but I don't know if it's a good idea. Relevant comments? Commenter, Fickle is the head that wears the flowered lace crown. It was never going to work out anyway. You had some laughs and some good times, enjoy that and move on. OP. I understood some of her reasoning. Mainly, I want to move out of the city once my lease is up, and I wanted her to move in with me. I was worried about long distance. She didn't want to leave the city, though. She said something about me be controlling, too, but I don't think that's the case at all. Block her. We agreed to stay friends, so I don't want to block her. Update Post 2, April 4th, 2024, 9 years, 8 months later. I was going through an old email and found this account again. I was surprised I could still log in, and even more by the amount of people who had reached out to me. It's a bit embarrassing to relive this breakup from almost 10 years ago. In retrospect, it wasn't meant to be, and I think I was reeling more from getting dumped than the loss of the relationship. I am 33 now and married to a wonderful woman, 31F, for 4 years. I learned my lesson about supporting my significant other's hobbies. My wife loves running and baking. We have a daughter who is turning 3 this year. I want her to be free to express herself how she likes, as long as it is safe, of course. I would do anything for them. I am still friends with my ex on social media. We don't talk, but will like each other's posts. She is married to another woman now who also dresses differently. It's not as frilly as she used to dress, but still unusual. Her pictures look like something out of Anne of Green Gables. She seems very happy on their farm together. TLDR. Was dumb in my early 20s. Got over an old breakup, and now I am married and happily supporting my wife's hobbies. Relevant, come on. Commenter, can we expect an update in 10 years when your daughter has become a teenager and developed princess syndrome? Also, congratulations on your life. OOP, well, she does love pink and purple. Story 6. Overheard BF telling his friend he could never picture himself getting married. Where do I go from here? I recently stumbled upon this sub and want to get a collective opinion about my situation. My 33F boyfriend, 33M, and I have been together for about 3 years. When we first started dating, he said he was dating to marry, and we had a lot of honest, open conversations about wanting to build towards that level of commitment and partnership. In the years since, we've moved in together and supported each other through so much. As of late, I've been feeling a bit sad because 3 years have gone by, and there has been no talk of engagement or marriage, which doesn't align at all with how adamant my boyfriend was about marriage as a goal when we first met. He would even often tell me how a little voice in his head was telling him to just marry me after we'd only been together a few months, and other things that made marriage seem like a legitimate goal and priority, but I haven't seen that come into play at all. To make matters worse, I recently overheard him having a conversation with his friend in which he said, "I could never see myself getting married." This hurt me quite badly. But instead of freaking out or getting noticeably upset, I just asked him about it. I didn't admit that I'd overheard his conversation, but I did ask what his honest thoughts were about marriage, and if his thoughts about it had changed over the years. He responded that he isn't sure he still believes in marriage and can't decide if societal ideas are making him feel pressured to get married one day, or if it's something he actually wants. I reasserted that getting married is a priority for me, and I fully intend to be a wife someday. He didn't really have anything to say to that. We walked away from this conversation very calmly, no heated emotions, but I think I need to leave my boyfriend over this. I'm also realizing that I have basically given him all the benefits of being married without actually marrying him, and that this is no longer fair to me. I don't resent him, and I don't regret the ways I've been able to support him, but this has included giving this man a lot of money over the years when he was struggling financially, which I did because it felt like the right thing to do, and because I thought we were meant to be life partners. What do you think? Do I need to move on? Comment. You're lucky you overheard what he really thinks. I'd leave. Too many of these men who don't want marriage don't mind using women's time and resources. It's interesting how many of these men who don't want to be married are always out here draining some poor woman and taking advantage of the fact that she wants marriage. Let him enjoy being truly single and stop subsidizing his life. Link. Update. I left. Overheard my BF telling his friend he could never see himself getting married. Where do I go from here? The 29th of December, 2024. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the hundreds of people who commented on my original post and gave me their heartfelt opinions and advice. I didn't expect such a huge response, and I'm genuinely grateful. To make a long story short, I left him. The truth is, it's not just marriage that my ex was putting off. He continually made promises for the near and distant future that just never came true, from vacations to home renovations, and when I confronted him more directly about the prospect of marriage, he informed me that he didn't feel sure about marrying me, primarily because our families haven't met yet, and because I wasn't willing to buy a house together before we got married. He denied ever saying he could never see himself getting married, but I know what I heard, so we had the buying a house together conversation towards the beginning of the relationship, and I was firm and clear that I didn't feel comfortable doing that unless I was married. In fact, I didn't think it was relevant to include it in my previous post because I thought it had been resolved between us. And I don't see why our families should meet if we aren't at least engaged. But maybe that's just me. We had other issues as well, which I won't go into too deeply. But over time, I've started to feel less like a partner and more like a housekeeper. My ex was very, very messy, and a frustration he voiced as we were breaking up was that I wasn't willing to pick up after him. I'm not kidding. He used those words. I did my best to keep that house clean. But there are certain things I would just give up on because it's frustrating to clean up after a grown adult who's throwing trash and clothing all over the floor and furniture. I felt very stung by all this. Honestly, I think I deserve better. I also did the math and learned that I had given him nearly $18K over 3 years, most of which went towards his mortgage. Yikes. He offered, without me prompting, to start paying it back, but I haven't started making those arrangements yet. I'm currently staying with my parents through the holiday season and will be moving into a new place in January. As sad as I feel, I also feel deeply at peace. My husband is out there, and I know I will find him in the coming years. Comment. I see a pattern. He makes trash. He treats you like trash. He is trash. Good riddance to him. Find someone who values you. Story 7. I had a baby as a result of an affair, and now his wife is reaching out to me. Original post. January 28, 2024. IF26. Had an affair with a married man, M42, a few years ago. I had no clue he was married when we first met and hooked up. I obviously looked him up on social media, and while he did have photos of his kids on there was absolutely no mention or photos of a wife at all. I found out that he was married about a month after we first got together, but he told me it was just a marriage on paper and that they basically lived separate lives and agreed to remain married for practical purposes until the kids were older. They owned a business which she really ran and he was just financially involved in. I knew at the time that I probably shouldn't believe him, but I convinced myself it was true. I was in my early 20s and so attracted to him and I guess almost infatuated with him. He made me feel so good. I know now that I should have ended it immediately, but I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was addicted to all of the attention he gave me, the great sex, the places he'd take me. I felt special. I was so naive. I got pregnant about a year into seeing him. I had always been so careful with preventing pregnancy, but during my relationship with him, I took stupid risks. I was so high in lust with this guy, it's embarrassing. The things he'd asked me to do. I'd say yes to almost anything, even when I knew it was a bad idea. I was in love with him. Or I thought I was. I hadn't intentionally wanted to get pregnant. I would, of course, dream about being his wife and having a family, but I knew that wouldn't be a possibility while he had this arrangement with his actual wife. I didn't get pregnant on purpose with any intention of him leaving her for me, even if I wished that we could be a real normal couple. I was surprised by how excited I was to be pregnant with his baby. I wanted that baby once I found out I was pregnant. The thought of carrying this baby of the man I loved was so special to me, but I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same. I told him I was pregnant and he told me I couldn't keep the baby. I expected his reaction, but I was devastated, and it hurt me to my core that he didn't feel the same way I did. He offered to pay, to make a whole weekend of it somewhere exciting, WTF, and to buy me something special if I'd just please get rid of the baby. He explained that he didn't want any more kids and that he couldn't openly be a father to another kid when he and his wife were still pretending to be happily married to the outside world. I agreed to do what he wanted, and we made plans for him to pick me up and find somewhere out of town to go get it done. I was all packed the night he was going to pick me up, but I started to feel really scared and really unsafe about the whole thing. I took my bag and checked myself into a hotel to hide because I couldn't go with him. I texted him to say I promised to never contact him again and to never name him as the father or go after child support if he'd promised to leave me alone. At first, he tried to sweet-talk me into doing what he wanted. When I didn't cave in, he said some very nasty things to me and that I essentially better never contact him again or show up at his door. I have a 2-year-old now. At times, it's been difficult, but overall we are thriving as best we can. I have kept my word about not naming his as the father or requesting child support. His wife contacted me on social media. Well, she's his ex-wife now. She wants to talk to me. She found out about me and told me that she divorced him 6 months ago. She wants her children to know their sibling and for my child to know his siblings. That's weird to me. I haven't responded back to her yet. I am unsure about how to approach this. How do I respond to this? I wonder if I'm being selfish by not exploring an option for my child to know his siblings, if she's being genuine about that. If I was married and my husband fathered a child outside of our marriage, I don't think I'd feel the same that she does. Update #1, February 18th, 2024, 3 weeks later. I made a post 3 weeks ago and things have only gotten stranger. I had an affair with a married man a few years ago. I regret it and I will never do anything like that ever again. I knew it was wrong from the very beginning, but he captivated me. I was naive. I allowed myself to believe when he told me they were pretty much just married on paper for the sake of their kids. I got pregnant, and while he tried to talk me into getting an abortion, I ultimately decided to keep the baby. I have a 2-year-old little boy now. I promised this man that I wouldn't expose our affair, and I wouldn't formally identify him as the father or request child support. I did that because he was becoming very nasty about the whole thing, and I felt like due to the mess that I had created and the way I felt by the end of it, a clean break with no involvement with him would be the best thing for everyone. I moved back to where my family is, hundreds of miles from where he and his family live. About a month ago, his ex-wife reached out to me via social media, claiming they had been divorced for 6 months and that she wanted our children to be able to know each other. Now their kids are teenagers, so I didn't really think they'd want anything to do with the toddler and the woman their father was having an affair with. It seemed odd to me. After posting here, I sort of decided that I wouldn't respond to her. I'd just ignore it. She just sent me the one message, so it wasn't as if she was badgering me about talking to me or meeting me. On Friday night, I decided to message her. I don't really know why. I think it was really just for my sake, so I could have the chance to apologize to her. I told her that I would be more comfortable speaking with her face-to-face, since I couldn't trust that it was really her. She said she understood. I was too nervous to meet her in person, but we did a video chat. I didn't know what to expect, if this was all a ploy just to unleash her fury on me or what. I mean, I'd deserve that. She wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. It was really her. She told me she discovered our affair when she found communications between the two of us after our relationship had ended. She told me I'm one of many women he had affairs with over the years, and she knew about somebody even before he met me, but she didn't divorce him at the time. Finding out about my child was the final straw for her. I told her I was sorry for my relationship with her husband and admitted that I knew he was married. She graciously told me she forgives me, and that while she harbored a lot of anger towards me initially, she ultimately blames her husband. I'm not blameless, but she chooses to not hate me, essentially. She said she couldn't have said this 6 months ago or a year ago when she first found out about me, but she has moved past that. She still has anger toward him, in addition to many other emotions surrounding him. She started pouring out her heart to me about their 20-plus-year marriage and life together, and it was very awkward because what do I even say? Her kids know about me and my son. She says they're very mad at their father. Somehow I don't think they're mad about the fact that he's not involved with my son's life. And why would they be mad about that? I would hate me if I were them. I told her with my son being so little right now, I don't really feel comfortable with him meeting her kids or being involved with their family. I feel unsure about it, and it's just not something I feel needs to happen right now. Then she told me her ex-husband was in a bad accident 2 months ago. He's fine now, still not allowed to return to all his normal activities just yet, but will be fine. He is probably the most physically active person I've ever met. Barely ever seems to sit down, so he must be terribly annoying to be around if he's not allowed to go all the time. She told me he wants to meet my son. Apparently she moved back in with him temporarily when he first came home from the hospital. She said the accident really shook him up, and he has been expressing a lot of regret about my son, not being involved, not providing for him. So now it's like, was everything she said just a lie and he somehow got her to reach out to me on his behalf? And she actually did it? It felt almost like a relief talking to her initially, but then it's like, was any of that true or you were just trying to be his messenger? I don't even know if that part is true now. Why wouldn't he just contact me himself? I'm just feeling so uneasy about the whole thing now. Update #2, April 30th, 2024, 2 months later. I posted about this few months ago. To summarize very quickly, when I was fresh out of college, I had an affair with a married man and father. I became pregnant. He wanted me to get an abortion. He had arranged to take me away in a vacation to get an abortion. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I agreed to go along with what we wanted. At the last minute, when he was on his way to come pick me up, I told him I couldn't go through with the abortion. I just really didn't feel comfortable about his plan and how he was orchestrating everything. It scared me. I realized at that time how deep I had gone with this mistake, how screwed up the whole relationship was. He was really mad. He threatened me, said a lot of nasty things to me. I told him if he just left me alone and let me have my baby, then I'd leave him alone and wouldn't name him as the father or seek child support. I moved back home. I was living in a different state when I met him. I kept my word and I didn't name him as the father or seek to establish paternity. I have never sought child support. My child is 2 now. A few months ago, his wife contacted me via social media. At first, she made it seem like she wanted my child to have the opportunity to know his siblings. It was sort of weird since the siblings are teenagers. She said she had divorced him 6 months prior. I agreed to talk to her virtually, not in person. I felt that I owed it to her to apologize for what I had done. I do feel bad about it. But at the end of the conversation, I told her that I didn't feel it was the appropriate time to connect my son with her kids. He's a toddler and they're teens, plus I had promised her husband to stay out of his life. That's when she told me that he was recently in a bad accident and she had been helping to take care of him. Supposedly he was going to be fine and was fairly recovered at that point, but she said he had expressed interest to meet our child, so she was basically his messenger. I have not been in contact with her since then. I deleted my social media. I don't know why, but the whole thing just really made me uncomfortable. Since I last posted here, then I received a handwritten letter from him. In it he expressed how he wanted to get to know our son, he wants to be a father to our son, he wants to provide financially for him, he'd like us to come visit him. He asked me to sign a paternity affidavit. I refused to do so. I know he is my son's father, but I'm not going to make this that easy for him. After the things he said to me and threatened me with, he at least has to work for this. At that point, my parents felt that we needed to meet with a lawyer. All communication from me has gone through a lawyer. I have never responded to him personally directly. Now I have a court order for paternity. I have to present my son to have a specimen taken tomorrow. I already know what it's going to say. It's not that I don't want my son to have a dad in his life. It's just the whole situation is a mess, and he lives a few states away from me. I don't know what to do. I can't really do anything. He's doing things legally. Next, I'm sure he'll petition for some form of custody or visitation. He's not married anymore, supposedly, but he's a lot more established than I am. He has considerably more financial resources. I also know he has all sorts of connections where he lives. Luckily, they don't hold as much weight here in my state, but it's still so scary to me. I'm a bad mom. I brought my son into this world knowing it was a messy situation. I just got so comfortable with it just being the 2 of us, and now I don't want to give that up. Update #3, June 15th, 2024, 2 months later. I won't rehash the whole thing here. My previous posts are on my profile. I got pregnant from an affair with a married guy. He wanted me to have an abortion. I decided I didn't want one. He turned mean. I promised to not name him as the father, legally, or to pursue any sort of child support. I moved away from where he and his family were located. I'm about 12 hours away from him now, back where my family is from. I haven't reached out to him in the now over 3 years since. His ex-wife reached out to me out of the blue via social media, initially claiming she wanted to connect with me so that our kids could know each other. When I politely declined for the time being, as her kids are teenagers and my son is a toddler and we live states apart, she revealed she was really reaching out in behalf of her ex-husband, who had supposedly had a change of heart about being involved in our child's life after nearly dying in an accident. I did not engage with her any further after that. It all made me feel very uncomfortable. Later, I received a letter from him in the mail. He asked to be involved with our son, to provide for him, etc. It still felt weird. I mean, he turned really mean and didn't want anything to do with me or our baby and hadn't made any attempt to contact me in years, and I was not hiding. His wife was obviously able to find me on social media, and you can find my address online. I felt like if he was serious, he'd take the steps to establish paternity legally, and that's what he did. Around 1.5 months ago, we were ordered to submit DNA samples for a paternity test. It took around 5 weeks to find out what I already knew it'd say. But now things are stalled for another several weeks for the next step in the court process. I haven't talked to him at all during this whole thing. I didn't respond directly to his letter. I do have a lawyer, and everything is basically going through him now. Then, without any warning, he just showed up at my home last weekend. Just knocked on the door like it was nothing. Basically, this is his son, and he doesn't want to wait another 6 weeks for the court to inevitably order us into some sort of custody mediation anyway. His words. Why can't I just talk to him? I told him he made me uncomfortable, and him just showing up at my house really made me uncomfortable. Honestly, I don't know what made me so uncomfortable. The fact that he showed up unannounced like that, or the fact that I instantly felt the same attraction to him that I had when I was with him, and I didn't want to feel that at all. In some weird way, part of me felt happy to see him, and then another part of me was disgusted that I was happy. He said he doesn't understand why we can't just talk about this. He's not trying to take my son away from me. He just wants to be involved in his life and to help provide for him like he should have been all along. He's sorry he wasn't there when he was born. He's sorry he reacted the way that he did when I didn't go along with his plans to take me on an abortion vacation. Why can't I believe that he just wants to be a dad to his kid? I guess I agree with him. Why can't I just accept that he has had a change of heart? I can't trust myself. I can't trust my own judgment. I feel like if I easily let him into my son's life, I'm going to end up regretting it and be made a fool of somehow. I've already made so many mistakes when it comes to him. He says it's stupid of me to not try to work it out amongst ourselves first. I'm giving so much control to the court. I don't know whether to believe that or to think it's just his way of convincing me to do what he wants. I know he will get some sort of visitation and eventual custody. Maybe it would be better if we try to come to an agreement, but he had the ability to sway me so easily. I'm so stupid when it comes to him. Nobody else has ever made me feel so foolish in my life. I want my son to have a dad. I admit it's probably selfish of me to want to keep him away. I just keep imagining having to spend weeks or months apart from my child while he's living with his dad 12 hours away. And I can't stand the thought of it. I'm just feeling sad, stupid, and defeated. Update #4, July 30th, 2024, 1.5 months later. Since everyone got mad at me for posting a recap of my situation in my previous posts, I won't even go there. If you're interested in the backstory, you can read my previous posts. All I will say is that I have a 3-year-old son who was conceived with an affair I had with a married man. After initially making me promise to not contact him, to not name him as the father, and to not request child support, my child's father has been pursuing involvement in our son's life over the last several months. He lives states away, and most recently he showed up at my house to try to convince me to work things out directly with him. Since the last time I posted, we've recently had a mediation session, and he's met our son twice. At this time, he will have supervised visitation, with me present. Because he lives states away, he is required to come here to see our son. It will not be on a weekly basis due to the travel. He will see him during 2 weeks of the month, 2 times each week, for a total of 4 visits a month plus 2 video calls a month. This will last for 6 months. The next step will be for him to continue that schedule, but to have unsupervised visitation during which he cannot remove him from the area for another 6 months. After a year, we agree to have another mediation session to determine next steps, with the goal, his goal, of being able to have my son at his home for short overnights. I'm not even ready to discuss that. He's already suggesting I can come for the first few times. I don't like the sound of it at all. We also have the option to request another mediation before 1 year, and something tells me he's going to pull that. I also have an order for child support. While he is in agreement with paying child support, it will have to work through the court system before becoming official, and for me to start getting the regular payment. He wrote me a large check in the meantime. I was hesitant to accept it. Not that I don't think my son deserves it, but now I'm just always worried I'll say or do the wrong thing legally, completely unknowingly, and shoot myself in the foot. Like, am I obligated, myself and my son, to anything by accepting this check? Can he somehow spin this against me? Of course he was not in favor of the six-month plan. And while he does understand that my son should not just go off with a stranger upon first meeting him, he wishes we could speed it along a little more. But 6 months was what we were able to agree on. He wanted to fly us both to where he lived, so he could spend a week or two getting to know our son, but I don't feel that's appropriate at this time. Perhaps in a few months, or around the holidays, depending on how things are going. It would be too much too soon. The initial 2 meetings went pretty much just as I thought they would. My son is extremely shy. He wanted to hide behind me most of the time. Then, when he would venture out from behind me, as soon as his dad would say anything to him, he would scurry back behind me and just stare at his dad blankly without saying anything. He came out of his shell a little bit, however, he has still not said a single word to his dad. He just pretends like his dad isn't there and only talks to me. I will say that his dad is being patient and understanding as far as that goes. If he's frustrated, he's not showing it. He did suggest that maybe our son needs to get out more, go to daycare more, of even preschool, instead of spending so much time with me and my parents. He's very delighted with how much our son looks like him and how much he favors him over me. The one thing that did bother me is that I already told him I wanted to be very careful and mindful of how we informed our son, this little barely 3-year-old boy, that this man, complete stranger, is his dad. He said, "Sure, yeah." Then at the first meeting he introduced himself as Dad. Since then I've been trying to help my son understand. Like, you know how your grandpa is my daddy? This guy is your daddy. It's so surreal to me that any of this is happening. I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for something to blow up in my face. Now it's just working on accepting our new reality. All of this change is hard and confusing for my son, and it's hard for me. Unless he really fucks up, I'm looking at eventually shared times with my son, spending school breaks and holidays at his dad's house, hours and hours away in another state. It won't happen tomorrow, but it will happen in the most likely reality. I just hope he stays committed. If he can be a good dad to my child, then my child deserves that, no matter how sad sharing him makes me. If he breaks my son's heart, that'll be another story, and I won't accept that so readily. Update #5, August 20th, 2024, 1 month later. It's been 3 weeks since I last posted, and just over a month since our new visitation arrangement started. I've seen plenty of people here talking about how dumb I am. I don't really understand. What am I doing that's so dumb? I know it was dumb to have an ongoing, year-long affair with a married man. It was stupid to put myself in a position where I could likely end up pregnant. That was in the past. What am I doing now that's so stupid? I have a lawyer. Yes, I agreed to talk to his wife one time. How was I to know she was just doing his bidding? Who would have thought that was the case? It's not even like I went to meet her in person somewhere. It was just a video call. I figured I at least owed that to her. Just one time, and a chance to tell her I was sorry for what I did. But ultimately it felt off, and I protected my son by telling her I didn't think it was appropriate at this time for me and my 2 years old to travel to another state to meet her teenage kids. It's not as if talking to her opened the door for him to reach out to me. I was careful with what info I shared with her. It's not as if I told her my address. He didn't need her to gather that info from me. Me talking to her isn't what prompted him to contact me directly and establish paternity. When he reached out to me directly about wanting to be involved with our son, I didn't reach out to him and decide to discuss things directly with him. I got a lawyer. When he showed up at my house, I didn't let him inside. I put my son in his room, so he didn't eventually see our son or have access to him. I'm listening to my lawyer. I met with him in a mediation, and I am trying to make careful decisions for my son. There is nothing I can do to prevent him from having access to our son. The court will grant him access if I fight it. At least this way I have a say in the arrangement. We are supposed to be using a parenting app. Since the last time I posted, he's reached out to me outside of the app. Now he keeps talking about us coming there to visit him. I have told him no. It's not appropriate. It's too much too soon. He's also already started talking about changing my son's last name to his, but maybe in a year or so. He tries to have personal conversations with me, not always about our son. I have shut those down and referred him back to the parenting app. He thinks using the app is stupid and is only for people who can't get along. He thinks it'd be better for our son if we got along and got to know each other again. He cares about me and what's going on in my life, or so he says. I also didn't cash the check he gave me. I returned it. If he wants to help financially beyond the child support he's ordered to pay, he can purchase items that our son needs out of his own free will, but he isn't to give me cash or checks. My lawyer actually told me that there was nothing wrong with accepting and cashing the check. It wouldn't affect anything related to child support. But knowing him, he could be using this check as something he can bring up later in court, and I just didn't feel comfortable about it. Sure, I would have loved to have kept it. There are quite a few useful things I could have used that money for. Of course, he was upset when I returned the check via certified mail. His plan was foiled. I know he's trying to butter me up for something. I don't know precisely what, but I'm not that stupid that I don't see through him now. Update #6, October 17th, 2024, 2 months later. I'm not allowed to post more updates in True Off My Chest, so I'm posting this to my profile. Not sure if anyone will even see it. I think somebody reposted my story somewhere else because I suddenly started receiving messages about an update nearly 2 months since I last posted. It's been 2 more months of this. 2 months of him sending me messages, half about our son, half about everything else. Despite the parenting app, he just can't seem to stick to it. Every other day I get a text directly from him. "How's our son?" Followed by, "You good though? Need anything?" He's also started sending packages for our son. The last one came a few days ago, a big box of toys, books, and clothes. At first I didn't know what to think. Was this another tactic? But then I looked at the stuff he sent. It was thoughtful, age-appropriate books, clothes that actually fit, and toys my son genuinely liked. It was clear he put effort into it. Or the person he had go buy the stuff put effort into it. Hopefully not this poor ex-wife. For a moment, I could see him trying to be a father. A small part of me appreciated that. Still, I'm careful. I'm not letting my guard down. The good gestures are mixed with moments that make me feel uneasy. He mentioned again that maybe in a year or so we should talk about changing my son's last name. I don't know why he keeps bringing it up. He acts like it's no big deal, like it's just something we'll agree on eventually. On the other hand, I can't deny that having him show up consistently with child support and gifts has taken some pressure off me. He's contributing in ways that actually help. My son seems happy with the things he's sent. And while I don't want to rely on it, it's nice not to worry about buying new clothes every month. The biggest challenge right now is finding balance. How do I acknowledge the good things he's doing without letting my guard down too much? How do I protect my son from getting hurt if he loses interest or starts pushing too hard again? I'm still following my lawyer's advice, still documenting everything. But the dynamic is changing, and I'm trying to keep up. For now, I'm taking things day by day. Some moments feel peaceful, like maybe this arrangement could work. Other moments I feel the weight of what's coming. He'll keep pushing for more time, for overnights, for a bigger role. He thinks it's unfair if I don't let him spend more time with our son during the holidays. He was practically throwing a temper tantrum about it. If I won't go to him, then he can rent an Airbnb and we can stay together. What? Why would we do that? He'll see him in December during his regularly scheduled visit. So then he called me a narcissistic, paranoid parent who just wants our son all to myself, and that I'm psychologically damaging him by not forcing him to go 0, 60 playing happy family with a completely stranger overnight. The thing is, he has a way of saying it that makes me start to believe it, and then I'm worrying if I'm really being that way. I don't know why he can't just act like a normal, patient, understanding adult person. I'm cooperating, and I know their level of contact and time will increase gradually. That's the key word, gradually. I'm not even trying to prevent that, but I just can't agree with this idea he has of just acting like he hasn't been completely uninvolved for almost 3 years. He's also trying to bribe me with money again. I'm not talking about the court-ordered child support and things like that. He asked me how much debt I had, and I wouldn't tell him. He kept pushing me to tell him because he would consider paying it off for me. Come on, let me help you. It's not help out if the kindness of his heart. He says there aren't strings attached, but I'm sure there are. He'll expect something in return, like for me to agree to change our son's name and allow some sort of custody arrangement I'm uncomfortable with. I do have a lot of debt that's a huge stressor on me, and yes, I've considered taking advantage of his offer, but not when I know my son is the price I have to pay. He told me he can find out how much debt I have if I don't tell him, and that he knows a lot more about me than I realize. I hope that's just him trying to intimidate me. It sounds like it's mostly just talk and something stupid he'd say. He is sounding more and more like his old self, though. So much for this accident really changing him for the better. He's really had me fooled at moments. At the end of the day, it's not money or fancy things that would go a long way with me. It's things like a genuine apologize for threatening to kill me, you know? Little things like that which go completely ignored and swept under the rug that would mean much more to me, but only if it was completely genuine. New update. End of year update plus. Everything is okay, December 22nd, 2024, 2 months later. I'm just posting a quick update because several people have reached out and expressed concern for me and my safety. I'm fine. My son is fine. I appreciate that people were concerned. There just hasn't been much change or reason to post an update since my last one, until very recently. We continue to follow the same visitation schedule with my son's father traveling here to visit. He hasn't missed a visit, pays child support as ordered, and other than his pushiness, things are going okay. My son is a lot more comfortable with him now and doesn't hide behind me or stay silent the entire time, but I think it's hard for him to grasp the concept of this guy being his dad. He's just a nice guy who plays with him and brings him toys a few times a month. Last weekend was one of his visitation weekends, and he bought tickets for a Polar Express train ride. I had planned to do that when my son was maybe 4 or 5. I think 3 is a little young, but of course he'd already bought the tickets. The 3 of us went. I don't really feel threatened by him, but I also don't feel comfortable letting him take my son somewhere alone yet. I didn't have the best attitude going into it. I felt like I was kind of going against my will. We stayed in a nice hotel that was decked out for Christmas and part of a Polar Express package. I was worried he'd expect us all to share a room, but he got us separate rooms. The train ride was fun and my son enjoyed it. I don't know that he cared about Santa, but he liked the cocoa, the jingle bell, and the pancake breakfast the next morning. He got cranky towards the end of the train ride, but overall it was okay, and I got a ton of really great pictures I'll treasure forever. Everything was going fine. It was a totally tolerable experience being there with my son's father. I wasn't focused on him. I was sort of able to ignore his presence to a degree. Then after we got back from the train ride, he said he loved me, and he'd give anything to be sleeping in the same bed as me that night. I told him I didn't want to talk about that it had ruined the entire weekend, and that we wouldn't be sleeping in the same bed. He said he doesn't understand why I'm so resistant to him. I guess he thinks I can just easily forget the way he treated me and our son when I told him I wasn't going to get an abortion. I told him I can't get over what he said and did to me, and he said, "I didn't mean it. That was years ago." I refused to talk about it anymore, but I couldn't resist asking him why he's doing all of this. I still don't understand why he decided to re-enter our lives. I do to buy that he suddenly had a totally non-selfish change of heart after he was in his accident. He said he just wants to be there for his son, and I should be happy for our son to have a father. He also said he can give him so much, and I selfishly want to prevent that, because of my pride. He thinks the reason I won't be with him again is because I'm stubborn, and insist on resisting everything he could do to make my life better and happier. So, the whole thing just ended in a sour note. We won't see him again until January. He has really tried to talk to me since then. He has short, scheduled video calls with my son, and he usually tries to get me to talk to him, but he basically ignored me. I may just have my dad take my son for the next few visits. I know my dad won't want to spend any time with my ex, and my ex definitely won't want to spend time with my dad, but I think it'd probably be for the best and would send a clear message. Top comment. Commenter, thank you for the update. Here's what I think. He is a charismatic man used to having what he wanted. He wanted you and his other life not disrupted. The day he threatened you, was it a married man D-Day syndrome? He was triggered by your pregnancy. The mask slipped. He would have said anything to get you in line to keep his perfect world intact. He was in a laser-focused damage control, protect the bubble mode. What I don't know about him, would it have escalated from just say anything to do anything, meaning physical harm? I don't know. If the threats were to get over the immediate problem for him, and in his mind knows they were words with no intention to actually harm, but used just to get you in the car, they will seem like no big deal to him, especially years later, and since he lost his marriage anyway, they'd mean even less to him. But my concern has always been even in best-case scenario. If that's true, people move on, and I believe he has one or more women in his life now. So is the interest in a physical relationship with you now genuine chemistry and residual from before, or a first step in getting you, and more importantly his son, back to his state and his state's court system where he has contacts to out-lawyer you and keep your son in his state? When you are with him, are your feelings still there? I guess my advice would really depend on how you feel about him. We are all Team River and Little Man. Story 8. I'm the kid of one of those traveling RV families online, and I hate them for it every day. Original post, September 10th, 2024. My parents decided when I was only around 7 years old, far too young to get an opinion on anything, to pack us up and move into an RV to travel around the U.S. My dad works online and my mom makes content online. She's not huge by any means, but big enough that we get recognized sometimes, and big enough that I've had a camera shoved in my face for as long as I can remember. For my privacy's sake, I won't say anything else on that, and I'm using a throwaway account because I've gotten enough attention already and I'm sick of it. And I sleep in a tiny bunk bed that I outgrew years ago, and the other bunk is the only space I have to put anything I own. I don't even have a room, just a curtain, and thank God I'm an only child, or else I would have to share the small space I have already. I was homeschooled for most of my education, and then switched to online school at my own insistence for high school. I'm an 18-year-old girl. I don't have a single friend in person because the longest I've ever stayed anywhere is a month. I don't have a job and no way to get one because of not being stationary unless I find one online, which also mean I have no way to move out and get away from them. I've had conversations with them about all of this countless times, and they are so delusional and genuinely believe that a nomadic existence is the best way to live. So why would I never need anything else? I hate them for treating me like some pet they can just drag along in their plans rather than their child. I hate traveling. I don't like heat. I hate dealing with bugs, and I'm so sick of hiking. I can't wait for the day that I finally figure out a way to get away from them with their mornings hikes and cameras in my face. I've traveled around the U.S., yeah, but God forbid I want to have a normal life, go to college, or maybe even make some friends. That's asking too much. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, I can't even imagine how lonely that must be. Do you have any way other family you could go stay with? OOP. Not that I know of, unfortunately. Currently, my plan is to try to figure out some making sort of income online and save up so I can get an apartment, and I'm talking with someone I've known online for a long time about maybe being roommates to help with costs for both of us. Commenter, going to college is perhaps the easiest way out, but maybe not the cheapest. However, certainly a good step forward for multiple reasons. OOP. I'm definitely looking into it, but I'm worried about it because with the way I was homeschooled, I was very behind academically and struggled a lot in high school. I was just happy I was able to do an actual online high school program rather than homeschooling. Commenter, ironically, if you were to start creating content about getting away from your hipster parents, you'd probably gain a lot of attention. OOP. Honestly, I've considered it just for the purpose of spreading awareness, but it didn't seem smart to me for a few reasons. Firstly, it didn't seem like a long-term solution. I don't think the content would be all that interesting once my story is told. There isn't any other real content there. There is only so many times you can talk about the same thing without it getting repetitive and boring people. Plus, I would have to be in a stable position enough to feel comfortable talking about it and have an out just in case things went sideways. But more importantly, I've already had my life plastered onto the internet from such a young age. I don't think it's worth giving up the one aspect of my life that hasn't been published publicly. Top comment, Gumby Rocks. 1800 Runaway provides a list of programs that will provide housing and supportive services. We help people like you every day. Update post, September 19th, 2024, 9 days later. Hello, barely over a week ago I made a post talking about my very negative experience living in an RV with my parents for around 10 years now. Despite it being such a short time since I've posted it, a lot has changed for me since then. I don't know how many people here would be interested in an update on my situation, but I know quite a few people were very concerned and would probably appreciate an update, so here it is. Also, fair warning, this is a fairly lengthy post. I have a tendency to ramble, so there is sort of a TLDR at the end. I had a lot of people give me really helpful advice, resources, as well as even offers to try to help personally, some being questionable admittedly, but a majority being genuinely concerned, wanting to try to help, and I very much appreciate that. It was slightly overwhelming, to be honest, and I ended up not responding to a lot of people, so you'll all have to forgive me for that. But even if I didn't respond much, I have been doing research on a lot of the information people gave me. Something that stood out to me was people asking if I had any family I could stay with, to which I had to respond, not that I know of, because I don't have anyone on my dad's side of the family, and my mom strictly no contact with her family. I did not know if they were alive, if they cut her off, if she cut them off, or even any details about them, and my mom had never wanted to talk about it. What information I did have was my mom's maiden name, which is pretty uncommon, and where she was born, which in terms of trying to find family can actually get you surprisingly far, I've come to realize. I've always had a slight hatred for the internet because I never had any choice in my life being public knowledge, and I know that once something is out there, it's out there. But for the first time, I'm actually really grateful for the internet. I was able to find some information on my mother's side of the family, and specifically was able to find my grandma's Facebook account, though it did take me some effort. After a lot of stressing on how to approach messaging her, if I even should, as well as potential outcomes, I messaged her explaining my mom's life, who I was, and my situation. I won't go into details onto why my grandma and my mom are no contact because that is not my story to share, but my grandma was appalled that she has a granddaughter she didn't even know about, and even more so the way in which her daughter raised me. I found out I have an aunt and an uncle, both of which my grandma told them about me and my situation. I've been in pretty much constant contact with all of them since just learning about each other. All of them want to help me get out of this living situation with my parents, and luckily with me being 18, now it's actually possible. Again, I don't feel entirely comfortable going into details, but I have arrangements to go stay with my aunt who lives in a big city on the West Coast that had a lot of potential opportunities for me to start college, or whatever I see fit, which I do plan on figuring out college, happy to announce. My uncle has kids, but my aunt lives on her own and has a spare bedroom which she has no problem letting me stay in for as long as necessary. I have a train ticket scheduled and purchased by my aunt and enough money to get to the station. I'm talking with my family, still feels weird to type, currently, and trying to plan out the details like how or if I'm going to tell my parents. My mom doesn't know any information on where any of her family lives, so even if I were to tell my parents who I'm going to live with, they wouldn't know where I was specifically. Someone pointed out that if I did leave without telling them, I should leave a note or some form of proof that I left willingly, so if I do opt out of a conversation, I'm planning on either leaving a note or filming a video explaining my plans and why I'm leaving, which would be kind of ironic, wouldn't it? Regarding my mom filming, I've been very quiet around my parents and just refusing to talk when the camera is on, but neither one of them has mentioned it yet so far, luckily. Also, speaking of my mom's content, I would like to very much emphasize something quickly. Almost everyone was genuinely trying to help, but I had a few people replying trying to guess who I was. Luckily, the few I saw were basically torn to shreds and ended up deleting their comments. I also had a few people who messaged me privately trying to make a guess at who I am, which at least that's not public, I guess. Although I can understand being curious, I posted anonymously with very little personal information for a reason. As I stated in my previous post, I have gotten enough attention and I'm very much sick of it. I would very much appreciate it if you guys can respect that. Even if you think you might know who I am, please, please, please don't make public guesses and understand that I don't want this to be even more public information tied to my name. Very long story short, I have set plans to leave as well as a safe place to go with my aunt once I do, and very much appreciate people for being so willing to help. If you had told me not even 2 weeks ago that not only do I have a plan to move away from my parents, but contact with family members I didn't even know existed, I don't think I would have believed it. I'm currently not planning on making another post updating this, but wanted to let anyone who was concerned about me to not worry. Genuinely thank you. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter, be careful. You don't really know your mom's family. I know it seems like an out. Just be careful. OP. I absolutely will be. Why my mom isn't in contact with them makes total sense, and none of it was their fault, plus they were able to send me evidence of that. But despite that, I definitely don't know them personally yet. My train out isn't scheduled immediately or anything, and I'm going to continue talking with them until then. But they do seem to be genuinely concerned and trustworthy. Plus, my aunt who I'll be staying with seems super nice, and we have already figured out that we have certain things in common. To the same commenter a bit later, OOP. Oh, I forgot to mention earlier. As I said in the post, I'm planning on going to college, because that's a more obtainable option for me now. And I'm hoping to figure out living in dorms so realistically I won't be staying with my aunt for that long once I work that out. Commenter. You can't really know they're being truthful. You should ask your mother why she's stopped communicating with them without telling her you started and get her side of the story. OOP. My mom, like 100%, refuses to talk about her family. That's the reason I didn't have any contact with them in the first place, and didn't even know about my aunt and uncle. But I'm confident they are being truthful about it because I was literally shown proof and some of it was literally court-ordered. Commenter, I do not recommend making a video. Your parents will use it for content. Write a note at most. Keep it simple, though. OOP. I realistically don't plan on filming a video. I think I was just feeling petty and upset thinking about it all, which just lead to thinking about drastic ideas of what I should do for telling my parents. Video definitely isn't a good idea if I don't just tell them myself. To a downvoted commenter, OOP, question. Have you ever seen the Harry Potter movie scene where his room is the under the stairs and thought to yourself, wow, he actually has enough room to sit up in bed and a door? I have multiple times, actually. I'm very willing to abandon them to not have to feel like that anymore. Commenter, ha ha ha, great analogy. Listen, could you do me a favor, please? Whatever the name of the town you're going to, call the local police or sheriff station on a non-emergency number, ask for the community liaison officer, and then briefly introduce yourself. Explain that you are 18, leaving a family situation which is not healthy, and going to stay with a relative you have not previously met. Give the officer your contact info and tell him or her that you just want somebody that you trust to know where you are, and to please give you a wellness check in a couple of weeks, and that you will stop in and let them know how you are a couple of weeks following that. Agree on 2 innocent code words for your wellness/future conversations. One which, when dropped into conversation, means something is wrong, please get me out of here, and the other which means everything is just fine at present. Does this sound comfortable for you? OP, that's a really good idea actually, thank you. Editor's note. OOP indicated that she doesn't plan to update again, but I'm leaving this as ongoing because I hope she at least comments that she's safe. Story 9. I 35M cheated on my wife 36F. She left without telling me anything. How can I get her back? Original post, August 4 ****** the 2024. I know, I'm aware of my faults. I know I screwed up. She and I had something beautiful. She is still the love of my life. We were together for 10 years, 2 dating and 8 married. But I made a huge mistake and cheated on her. It was just once. Just one damn time. Somehow she found out. I never knew how because I haven't been able to talk to her since then. I guess she found something on my phone. I came home that afternoon as usual, and everything felt weird. The house felt emptier. I quickly realized that her things were gone. I panicked. I started calling her over and over, but her phone didn't even ring. Suddenly, I saw some papers on the table. She was divorcing me. Under the divorce papers, there was a note that said, "This is what you do with cheaters." That was the last thing I got from her 2 years ago now. Of course, I called the contact information for her lawyer, who has been the only bridge between us, but he just told me that he was her legal representative and that she didn't want to see me. I fought. I got angry, but in the end, her lawyer just told me that it would be better if I got my own lawyer. I didn't want to. I absolutely refused to accept that 10 years of relationship would end like this. I know I have failed, but I always wanted to fix it. I know that if she gave me the chance, I could make that sweet and special girl I met more than 10 years ago fall in love with me again. I know that I can make her forgive me, after all. Many couples go through similar things and get over it. Why can't we be one more couple in that statistic? Why, after 8 years of marriage, am I thrown away like garbage for a mistake? I don't deserve so much indifference. I haven't been able to see her or even hear her voice in 2 years. 2 years of not being able to see or talk to the person you love the most is too much of a punishment. This situation has destroyed me emotionally, mentally, and even physically. I ended up consuming an unhealthy amount of alcohol, weeks of barely eating, not sleeping. I was a zombie for months. I was just functioning on automatic. I wanted to die, but I couldn't let myself die because I always held on to hope that she would come back. My therapist says it's really hard when you can't get closure from a relationship because your mind can't process that the relationship is over, so you're always thinking that person will knock on the door or that you'll wake up from sleep, and they'll be there by your side. The divorce was finalized over a year ago. I'll be honest, I didn't make it easy. I didn't want to get divorced, and I still don't understand how we can be divorced. I asked for couples therapy, but she refused. I know from my lawyer that her lawyer advised her to go at least once or twice, but she refused. It took quite a while, but finally the divorce happened. I can't even describe the feeling I felt and still feel, like if a piece of me had been cut out. I know I hurt her, I know I failed, but I think we all deserve a second chance. When I couldn't take the pain anymore, I decided to start therapy. My therapist doesn't give me advice to get her back. He only focuses on me moving on with my life, encouraging me to meet new people and go out on dates. But I don't want to. At this point, I'm not even interested in sex anymore. A few days ago, something happened that completely shattered me. I was having a few beers with my friend at my house. Let's call him Nick. We were both pretty drunk. I started talking about my wife, and he said to me, "You should put more effort into getting over her. She's over you and is happy having a life away from you. You should do the same. You can't live in this self-pity all your life." Something in his words hit me, but not in the way he expected. He spoke with a lot of confidence that my wife is over me and is happy now. How does he know that? At this point, I got angry and started pressuring him to talk. He refused. I pressed as hard as I could. I cried. I begged him to tell me if he knew something. I needed to know something about her. Until he finally told me. His wife has been in contact with my wife for the last year. They were great friends, and I remember Sabrina, my friend's wife, being very sad about losing contact with my wife. The thing is that my wife went to live in Norway, got married to a guy there, and is about 7 months pregnant. I felt like dying. I literally felt like dying with this information. How could she do this to me? How could it be that while I was crying, getting drunk, missing her, and wanting to die every day, she was happily on the other side of the world, getting married, fucking, and getting pregnant by another guy? How could it be that she didn't have a child with me in many, many years, to the point that I thought she was infertile, but she got pregnant by this new guy so easily? Where did this guy come from? I have no answers for absolutely anything, and I feel like I can't go on with my life without these answers. The only thing I can think of is that she had revenge sex with the first Norwegian guy she came across and got pregnant and decided to keep the baby. Maybe she got married because she wanted to stay in that country legally, and I guess like in most countries, getting married is a good option for that. I don't know, these thoughts are killing me. I refuse to think that she is in love with him. I need to contact her. I need to talk to her. I need to know what's going on, because she acts like our 10-year history and 8-year marriage is nothing to her. I need advice on how to act. I feel the impulse of travel to where she is and look for her. But how could I do that? I don't know what city she's in. I don't know where she lives. I don't have a number to contact her. She closed her social media. Her family is small. They don't live in the same country as me, and all of them blocked me. I'm totally lost. I don't know what to do at this point. I still want her back, yes, even pregnant. I feel like if this is a nightmare, and I need to wake up now, eat it. I read almost all the comments, and when I say almost all, I really mean almost all. It's hard to process all the crap that's been said about me. I feel like you guys forget that you are talking to a person and not an inanimate object. I thought I might find more empathy by sharing my story here. Just 2 people feeling empathy towards me, and their comment made me feel better. I'm not looking for validation or for anyone to say that what I did is okay. I know it's not, and I have to live with that daily. I will try to respond, but of course I'll never be able to respond all the comments over here. I guess none of you know what it's like to have a broken heart and not be able to get over a person. You don't decide who you love, and you don't decide when you get over someone. It will happen when it have to. Those who doubt my story, unfortunately, is real. I would love this to be fake, but sadly it is not, and I have to live with this mess every day. Everyone assumes she's happy now. I don't know. I mean, how do you know? I haven't seen her in 2 years. I can't have any idea if she's happier or not. Being pregnant, it doesn't necessarily mean happiness, and being married either. We don't really know the circumstances of this marriage. Maybe she got married because she got pregnant and felt alone in a country where she has no one, and she just hold on to the other guy. Of course I blame myself for this. This wouldn't have happened if I had been a better person and a better husband to her, but unfortunately I can't change what I did wrong. The only thing I could do is try to make it up to her. But how do you make it up to someone who doesn't want to give you the chance to do so? Some people said that she doesn't owe me a second chance. That was hard to read, but I understand that maybe she doesn't have to. I never openly blamed her for the infertility issues. It was just a thought. We both went to the doctor, and in both cases the tests revealed that everything was fine. I never understood why we couldn't conceive, and the thought that she was infertile did cross my mind, and of course the idea that I was too. But in most cases of infertility, it is due to a female factor. Maybe that's why I thought that. Horrible things were said, like I would hurt my ex-wife if she were here. I never physically hurt her, and I never will. I am not an abusive person. I am not a monster. I know it's hard to empathize with me. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt her way beyond what I can say. But I am not a monster or a narcissist. Some people said that I never loved her. Otherwise, I wouldn't have cheated on her. This statement doesn't seem fair to me. You think you can kidnap the concept of love and tell another person what his real feelings are? You think you're inside my head or heart? Only then would you know what I feel. You can't tell me that I don't love her. There hasn't been a day since she left that I don't regret it. No one can tell me this isn't love. Lastly, humans are more complex than most people here think. Just because I cheated on her doesn't mean I don't love her or that I don't have feelings. I called what I did a mistake because how else would I call it? I thought part of accepting blame is accepting that was my mistake. But everyone here take those words as if I'm trying to twist the situation when that's not the case. You've completely twisted my words. I know how much I hurt her. Maybe in my post I'm focusing on myself because I was never able to explain myself to her. Since then, for me, it's been one attempt after another to put together a story in my head that doesn't make sense. I lost everything from one moment to the next. I simply tried to be open with my feelings, but it doesn't seem to work here. Not for me, at least. I know the damage I did to her. This woman left her life, the country she emigrated to, her friends, even her job. No one does that for a breakup unless you're going through some level of absolute pain. I understand that I can see and feel the pain I put her through, and that makes me feel even more guilty. Honestly, I'm going to respond to some comments below and then log off of Reddit for a couple's days until I feel in a better place. Relevant comment. Commenter, I want to know who you cheated on her with. That's pretty important information. OOP, it was a radon woman that used to go to the same gym. Nothing important. It didn't mean anything, not even for a second. I just was being an idiot. Commenter, you don't seem to have any remorse for cheating, just mentioned she somehow found out so you were not planning on telling her. It's been 2 years, you need to accept responsibility for your actions and let go. She's never coming back. There's billions of people out there, just heal and improve yourself with therapy, and I'm sure you'll get a second chance with someone else. You're only 35. OP, I do feel remorse for cheating. I'm a big mess right now, but I do feel remorse. Commenter, you may still be in love, she is not, at least not with you. OP. So love just fade away. Just like this? At the end of the day, this sometimes makes me feel like if I'm actually more loyal than her to our relationship, meaning she left, remarried, got pregnant. Looks like if she completely forgot about me and him here sitting crying while I drink some wine and respond to some strangers on Reddit about our relationship. I still love her, but for her was so easy jeer over me. Commenter, if only half the people on Reddit had the self-respect your ex-wife has. OP, I don't blame her. I understand the pain I caused her. But I also think there are many couples who go through this and move on, especially when it was just one time. I never had a side relationship for months. I didn't cheat on her with multiple women. I didn't get another woman pregnant. I didn't cheat on her with her friend. Cheating is wrong, but are you really going to put me on the same level as a guy who cheated on his wife for years, or who cheated on his wife with her sister? It's not an excuse, but I'm asking for some coherency here. Update. Same post 2 days later. These days have been very strange. At times I feel numb, and at others desperate. A lot of things have happened. I want to start by answering something, and then I will update. Some people asked why Norway. I don't know exactly, but she is a polyglot. She speaks 6 languages. Many of these languages are connected to cultures that she always liked. Norwegian is just one of them. She has always been interested in Norwegian culture. She has been there before, but she is also interested in other cultures and speaks other languages. So for me, that was never an indicator that she might have gone to this country. Regarding the update, the first thing I will say is that the post reached some people in my circle. Sabrina's sister is on Reddit. She knows the story, and realized it was me. She told Sabrina. Sabrina is angry at Nick for revealing information. Nick is angry at me for posting on Reddit, and because he says I pressured him to talk. I am angry at both of them for being two holes who watched me suffer for 2 years and decided not to help me. They didn't care about my marriage. Why should I care about their marriage? Sabrina could have given me my ex-wife phone number a long time ago, but she decided to prioritize her friendship with my ex instead of helping 2 friends mend their marriage. Meanwhile, no one cared about my feelings. I'm done with them at this point. Regarding to my ex-wife, I've been thinking a lot. She can't just disappear. I convinced myself that if I searched hard enough, I could find something related to her. I follow some of her relatives from a fake Instagram account, but I never found anything related to her. I searched a lot, really a lot, and found a name that I had seen before, but that hadn't caught my attention until then. It was a lady with a name that is not typical in the United States or my wife's country. She is not American and a very strange last name. I went to her Instagram profile and she had no pictures or anything, just a small profile picture that you can barely see. I decided to look her up on Facebook and found the same lady with the same profile picture. Only her Facebook profile is quite open. She is indeed a lady from Norway. I checked everything I could on this profile. I was convinced that it had something to do with my wife. How else would a relative of hers have this woman in their friends? I saw a lot of pictures, people, plants, mountains, gardens, lakes, flowers, typical things that an older lady posts, until I came across a picture where my ex was dressed as a bride hugging a guy. I had to translate the text. The lady was congratulating her son on his wedding. There were a few more pictures, not many. There were even some members of my ex's family in the wedding pictures. The dates of the pictures were from a year ago. A year ago, she married this guy. I don't understand. How could it happen so fast? When did she meet him? I honestly thought she got married after she got pregnant, not before. This baffles me even more. After that, I found another picture. It was a group picture, and she was far away. But of course I recognized her. The same guy was with his hands on her shoulders, hugging her. This picture was from February 2023. To be clear, she left in May 2022. How is she with someone in February 2023? Only 9 months and she's already in a stable enough relationship that he's introduced her to his family? What the hell is going on here? I feel like I have even more questions in my head now. I know I shouldn't be upset, but I am. I know I lost her because I was an idiot, but it's hard to get this feeling out of my head right now. Anyways, for those who had imagined this fantasy that my ex is with some kind of Norwegian Chris Hemsworth, let me tell you, it's not like that. This guy is too tall, too blonde, too pale, hair too long, and kind of chunky, to be honest. He looks more like the old cartoon of Vikings and is definitely not a Chris Hemsworth. I managed to find his FB profile, but he has almost nothing there. His profile says he's an engineer who wears metal band t-shirts at 38. I don't know how to take this because I'm an engineer myself, just in a different field. Why would she look for a man with the same profession as me? My wife has always liked heavy metal, which I always found nasty, but I never complained. After all, your partner doesn't have to have the same musical tastes as you. I mention this because maybe that was the way they connected. She used to connect easily with people who liked the same type of music. I don't know, but I honestly look at it and think, where did she get this guy from? I meant, he can definitely do better than this. The pregnancy thing still messes with my head. I try not to think about it. I can't understand it. I'm not infertile like the comments suggest. I've been to the doctor and I know I'm not. But God, it kills me to think that she's going to have another man's child. I don't get it. I feel like this is beyond anything I ever imagined. And no, I'm not going to go to Norway. I'm not going to try to contact her. I still want to see her and talk to her. But I obviously can't force her to do that. I have too much to deal with right now and too much to talk about in therapy. If by any chance this post reaches my ex, I want you to know that I still love you. You know where to contact me. If by any chance this post reaches the new dude, I want you to know the only reason you have a chance with this woman is because a big idiot halfway across the world completely ruined it. You most probably met a woman who was probably very broken from her divorce. You took advantage of her situation and trapped her with a baby. You don't know how to play fair. Sabrina and Nick. Fuck! Story 10. My husband almost killed our baby and my toddler saved him. Original post March 11th, 2024. Hey Reddit. I need to share this story because I'm still shaking from what happened. I'm 25F, been with my husband, 30M, since 2018. We have a 3-year-old girl and a newborn boy. But tonight, things almost took a turn for the worse. My husband has always had trouble paying attention, but I never thought it would come to this. Our neighborhood is weirdly laid out, with cars zooming by at crazy speeds at all hours, off the day I was folding clothes, when I heard our toddler screaming, "Dad, help!" That tone made me drop everything and sprint outside. What I saw made my blood run cold. Our newborn in his stroller, careening towards the busy street. I screamed and ran to him, barely stopping the stroller in time. My baby girl's hands and knees were scratched up because she tripped trying to run after the stroller. I snatched up my baby, heart pounding, and scanned for my husband. He wasn't watching. He was chatting with neighbors, completely oblivious. The anger I felt was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I stormed up to him, shouting in disbelief. He looked shocked at first, then realized what almost happened. The apologies and tears came pouring out, but it was too late. I couldn't wrap my head around how he could be so careless, so blind to our toddler's screams and the stroller rolling away. I packed up the kids and left, staying with my parents. They're on my side, but my husband keeps texting, begging forgiveness, calling it an honest mistake. But I can't shake the terror of almost losing my baby because he couldn't focus for a single second. My baby girl got hurt in the process because he couldn't pay attention. I almost lost my son because he couldn't pay attention. I can't stop crying. I feel so guilty. I wish this all never happened. Sorry it's short, I just want to hold my babies and I can't stop shaking every time I think about it. What if I was just 1 second late? Would I have been planning a funeral? And the reason I left the house instead of him was because I hate that house. I don't feel like it's safe for the kids with all the traffic. And I was right. It's my husband's workhouse. I can't be running either. I had a C-section less 6 weeks ago. A lot of people are saying, Why wasn't I watching the kids I was doing their laundry like a parent? Does he take them for walks to have bonding time with them? He literally created this by himself. This has never happened before. How was I supposed to know? And people saying, why didn't I get him checked out? I'm not his mother. He is 30 years old. I'm sick of people acting like I have to parent my own husband while I literally have a newborn, a toddler, and I'm still healing from a C-section that I teared my stitches from when I ran to get my baby. I don't care if it was his ADHD. The court wouldn't care either. If he killed my child, he would have went to prison either way. Relevant comments, additional info from OP. Specific Yam 2166. Okay, he was 100% wrong and I'd be livid just like you. However, I'm a little confused of the situation. Like, why was your baby just in a stroller unattended? Why did the stroller randomly go into the road? Since it sounds like you were at home, is this maybe something y'all normally do just to have a place for baby to sit out front of your house when your toddler is playing outside? And maybe it was a freak accident. I'm going to be honest as a mom. Most of us have stories of near-death experiences with our kids. We can be naive and stupid and expect a little child to have more awareness, survival skills than they do. When my son was 2, we had a horrible experience with an escalator, and I still have times where I can't sleep because of it. We are all idiots when it comes to parenting because how can you know until you live it? And seriously, like every parent has one of these moments, unless you're one of those insanely lucky ones. I still really don't understand the whole scenario of what happened, but to me, it seems he really has remorse and feels terrible, and once you go through something like that, you never forget it. So if he cares and loves your kids, he's devastated and has learned a hard lesson. I don't know that your response was the best, but get why you did it in the moment. But I think you guys have a serious talk and maybe look into moving if possible. I wouldn't go straight to divorce like Reddit loves to preach. I think there is a solution here, and so sorry you're dealing with this. It's literally the worst feeling in the world. OP. Hi, love. Let me just clear it up for you. So I was sitting inside in the lounge room, and there's a huge window behind the TV that was a little open, so I could hear outside. That's when I heard my toddler scream for her dad to help. When I was outside, he was standing on the neighbor's driveway. I assumed that he must have had left the baby literally on the road because there was no possible way that it would have rolled off like that. And my toddler was playing with the neighbor's cat before she noticed her brother was rolling away when I confronted him about it. He tried to explain, but he just kept stuttering. I still don't know what exactly happened. I don't know if he didn't put the brakes on the stroller. If the wind blew him away, I just don't know. My neighbor contacted me and had asked if I wanted the security footage because his wife is 100% on my side, so I'll probably find out once it gets sent to me. Procrastinatador. I want to acknowledge that this is a horrific situation, but saying I don't care if it was his ADHD isn't going to fix anything, and will probably only make things worse. Talking and thinking about it like he intentionally tried to kill your child isn't either. With ADHD, you actually do not register things like this at all sometimes. Life expectancy for those of us with ADHD is actually significantly lower because many of us end up, often accidentally, killing ourselves. It is not the same thing as carelessness, but learning about ADHD a little deeper can help you guys be safer. Understanding how my ADHD works and using different than standard precautions like my brain needs has actually most likely saved my life. Lie out what you want from him. That's probably that he get his ADHD better under control, whether that be through prescription medication or more homeopathic method, that you get a different place if possible, that he not take your kids out in your front yard without you, etc. Also, neither he or the neighbor noticed. But you heard your kid from inside. Something seems off here. Were your neighbors just watching the stroller roll towards the street? Was your husband on the other side of your house where he couldn't see the stroller? Were you already walking outside as this unfolded? I'm trying to understand better what was going on here and why your husband or the neighbor did not notice, but you did from inside. People with ADHD tend to be incredibly good and quick to act in emergency situations, so this is especially weird. I'm absolutely not accusing you of leaving anything out or anything, but asking you to think about what your husband and the neighbor were doing that neither noticed? That smells fishy. This is a horrible situation. I lost a pet due to the inattentiveness of ADHD, but I can't imagine losing or even nearly losing a child.
What's
Well, that's why I'm waiting for the footage. It doesn't make sense how this all happened. I don't know how to explain my house. There's a huge window in the lounge room. It was open a little too. I can listen out. The neighbor's house is 2 houses away. We are at the end of the street near the main road. When you first walk into my house on your left, there is the lounge on the right. The kitchen, when I got up, I couldn't run that fast because I'm still healing. Sorry if this doesn't make sense. When I ran outside, the neighbor's wife was running for the stroller, but was still far away, and the neighbor was helping my little girl off the road. That's all I seen. I'm just waiting for a response from them. My husband was just standing there, hands on his head, doing nothing. "You name it Lingling." I fucking screamed when I read what happened. Are you okay? Like, did you get any more damage to yourself? You literally just had a baby. What the fuck was your husband doing? Like, being outside with small children, especially on a busy street, should be treated like watching babies swim because anything can happen in an instant. I hope you are okay, and also, IDK, but do you all have cameras in your house? I wonder how long your husband was talking to the neighbor. I tore my stitches from the C-section and had to go to the ER while I was there. I made sure my baby girl got her knees and hands bandaged up. The crazy thing is, I didn't even realize I was bleeding until I was in my parents' car. My mom pointed it out. She panicked, took baby boy back to their house, and my dad took me and my daughter to the hospital. UP updated 11 hours later. Update. The neighbor's wife sent me the footage, and I really can't just wrap my head around it. So my husband was walking with the stroller, and my toddler was in front of them when they passed the neighbor's house. My neighbor was outside, washing his car, and my toddler saw his pet cat and stopped to go pet it. So my husband stopped. Left my baby on the road. He didn't even bother locking the wheels and walked all the way up the driveway, not even bothering looking back at the baby. He had his back faced to him for about 5 minutes before the stroller just suddenly started moving. I think it's because the road is on a hill, kinda, or it could have been the wind. My toddler never went near the stroller, Dot. It couldn't been her. The stroller went down the road and my toddler. That's when she started screaming and running for it when she saw. The neighbor started running after my daughter when she tripped. He tried to pick her up. That's when the neighbor's wife's car comes into frame and she stops and starts running back to the way the stroller is coming after that. You can't really see anything because it's all out of frame, but you can hear all the commotion. My husband just stood there the whole time, hand on his head with a blank stare on his face. He didn't even do anything when our toddler was crying from hurting herself. He only started crying when I confronted him. What do I do? I genuinely do not know what to do. I'm panicking. This was never the life I wanted for my kids. I don't understand why he was standing there. I have not even gotten a text or a call from him since I got sent the video. It's just been silent. I just can't get the sound of my daughter's screams. That's the sound that no mother wants to hear. I can't explain in the moment, but it felt like my blood went cold. And I just felt pure fear. I never want to watch the footage again. Story 11. My husband of 20 years is cheating on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend. Original post, Reddit, March 17, 2024. I'm going to use pseudonyms for anyone I reference in this post. I, 41F, am a stay-at-home mom. My husband, 4080M, whom we'll call Paul, works in finance. We have been married for nearly 20 years. We have 2 kids, whom we'll call Eric, our 18-year-old son, currently a senior in high school, and Mary, our 15-year-old daughter. They are both the lights of my life. My marriage with my husband has grown somewhat stale over the years for a myriad of reasons, such as his work schedule and how I've aged poorly since we first met. Our son, Eric, has a girlfriend, 18F, whom he's been dating since they were freshmen in high school. We'll call her Amy. Eric absolutely adores Amy. She's his first love, and she's someone I've always considered as family. This makes the whole situation emotionally excruciating for me. Last week, I inadvertently saw my husband's phone screen. and got a glimpse of a text thread between my husband and Amy. Our son's girlfriend and I read what looked like a message of her telling him that she misses sucking his cock. I froze in place, in complete disbelief. I spent most of the day convincing myself that I must have misread what I saw. However, I didn't misread it because over the last several days, I discovered a file on his computer filled with tons of BDSM porn. He clearly has a porn addiction. He also has saved photos of Amy from her Instagram on his computer. Although they weren't inappropriate, she was fully clothed, it was still the proof I needed to confirm that I wasn't going crazy. I also looked at his phone during opportune moments and saw more of their interactions. I wish I had never looked. They were filled with mean, horrible things said at my expense, with him constantly comparing me to her. He would call me fat and old, among other things, with Amy LOLing. I've always had hunches or paranoid feelings that Paul has been cheating on me, but never in a million years could I have fathomed something like this. Last month I found a thong in our bedroom that I know wasn't mine. I turned a blind eye to it, being naive and acting like it was maybe our daughter's, even though that made zero sense. Not only is he cheating on me, but he's betraying our son. I'm completely devastated. I don't even think words can adequately describe the dread anger, shock I feel right now. I'm totally overwhelmed on how to handle this because obviously action needs to be taken, but I'm terrified of what kind of psychic blow this will be for my son. I have no idea how to even broach this completely fucked up topic with him. I wouldn't wish this predicament on my worst enemy. I can't even believe I married this scumbag in the first place. And then my mind started to race, realizing that I started noticing specifically unusual behavior from him around the same time Amy turned 18. Was he waiting for her to turn 18 before pursuing this affair? There's so many layers to all of this, and I'm completely paralyzed with fear and dread about it all. None of it makes any fucking sense. How did this happen? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that I let all of this happen under my watch? Eric adores Amy, and the thought of revealing this sickening truth to him terrifies me. The impact on his young heart and mind could be devastating. My heart aches for Eric and Mary, who are completely innocent bystanders. I haven't confronted my husband about this because I'm frankly scared of the domino effect. I don't know who to turn to first about this. I share my story not for sympathy, but in search of understanding and perhaps advice from those who might have had to grapple with deep betrayal. Thank you for listening. Further info from UP. To not have my initial post be long-winded because I didn't think I needed to get into the minutiae of this, I didn't bother going into those details. How I inadvertently saw it was this: he was on his phone. He did not have iMessage open currently on the screen, but the application was still open. You know how on the iPhone when you swipe up and it shows all of the applications that are open, and you can close them. When he was closing out the applications, something he does compulsively, I noticed it. It's not like he was some kind of idiotic buffoon having iMessage open for all to see. I saw he forgot he had the application running when he swiped up from a completely different app. Also, I did say in my post that I went back to his phone to actually solidify my suspicion on a different day. So you are incorrect in asserting that I'm now magically changing my story. I am being consistent. Relevant comment. Yogurt closed stock 5,338. If she's freshly 18, isn't this illegal? There's no way they weren't doing anything illegal before she turned into an adult. Also, even if so, the age gap is over 3 decades. Her husband is suspect ASF. Police immediately. B. She's been 18 for 5 months now. I haven't been able to gauge when their affair started. I'm trying my hardest to figure that out. He deletes his texts every couple of weeks, it seems like. So I haven't been able to pinpoint when this whole thing started. OUP adds in the comments. Thank you everyone for overwhelming support. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to your private messages. I'll get to it when I can. Dealing with a lot right now and taking a lot of steps that need to be taken. I'm trying to be smart and strategic with this truly surreal and terrible situation I'm in. I want to be clear that not telling my son about this was never something I was considering. I didn't mean to make it seem that way. I was just saying I'm intensely dreading it, but obviously it needs to be addressed. It's one part of the many steps of my overall plan. I'm currently playing dumb and collecting as much evidence as I can so I can be prepared for anything and everything. I'm going to protect myself, and I'm going to make sure I don't put myself in any potential harm's way. I'll post a more thorough update soon when I can. But please know, you've all touched my heart so much and made me feel less alone. I'm divorcing my husband because he cheated on me with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Raredit. March 22, 2024. I'm using pseudonyms for confidentiality. I shared a situation a few days ago on another subreddit involving my 41F husband, Paul, 48M, our children, Eric, 18M, and Mary, 15F. I discovered that Paul was having an affair with our son's 18-year-old girlfriend, Amy. My son has been dating her since they were freshmen in high school. My brother connected me to a very tough junkyard dog-type lawyer. I saved screenshots of all his conversations with Amy. I was only able to get the last 3 months from iCloud. The conversations were mostly flirty and dirty talk. It was hard to stomach, completely sleazy, and I saw several negative things said about me. His call history showed he talks with her for hours, pretty consistently. He uses dating apps. I took screenshots of his profiles and all of the active chats he has with his matches. It's very clear he uses a filter to seek out girls who are 18, 22 or so. I copied all of his files from the computer. He goes on sex chat rooms and forums, and he spends a ton of money on OnlyFans. I rummaged through every possible hiding spot I could think of in the house. He had various toys, blindfolds, cuffs, lubricants, etc. He also had different outfits which looked kind of like a girl's Catholic school uniform and a French maid type outfit too. I picked up Eric and Mary from school, and we all drove to my brother's. They were able to sense something was awry when I picked them up. I delicately told them the entire situation, and I broke down crying. Mary had the most anger, even more than Eric. I met with Amy's mother and told her everything. She confiscated Amy's phone and gave me the entire chat log. It only dated back 3 months ago, like on my husband's cloud, almost as if they both deleted the messages at the same time. She told me Amy sobbed when confronted. Amy basically told her mother that she will never understand and that she and him are in love. I don't want to get into too many details with what else she was saying, but suffice to say, it's very easy to assume that my husband slowly and methodically became a sage-like figure in her life, making her feel she could rely on him, and he took advantage of the fact that she came from a broken home. Amy is also non-stop insistent that their friendship only became romantic physical recently, and before that she said he was more of a friend and mentor. I confronted Paul over Zoom. The look on his face was scary. He became red and looked so sweaty. He had anger and panic in his eyes. His tone of voice was very defensive and frightening. He kept yelling the word context over and over again, and that none of that happened. He was unable to speak without constant stutters and intensity. Nothing really made any sense to me. I refused to tell him where I was, and he said I had no right to take his kids away from him, and then he abruptly left the Zoom. My lawyer is filing for temporary sole custody of Mary and a restraining order. Mary is still the most angry. She's totally furious with her dad and Amy, justifiably so, of course. Mary is recollecting moments and times she watched her dad interact with her friends, and she's in knots about it. Eric is very clearly hurting, but he's so strong and very level-headed. He wants to see a therapist. The maturity my kids are showing makes me proud. They don't deserve this at all. We made the authorities aware of everything. I plan on being completely unforgiving and ruthless in this divorce. I'm reflecting on how I've been treated and how it's made me a shell of myself, and how I've had a very negative opinion of myself because of him over the last 20 years. I don't want to let this scumbag get away with it. I want to reinvent myself and move on stronger than ever. Relevant comment. De la France. How is your son holding up? What has developed between him and Amy? He hasn't spoken to Amy yet since finding out the news, and I'm not sure if he ever will again. Deleted. Have you confirmed if the thong you found was Amy's? The situation is fucked up. I confirmed that it wasn't my daughter's. She said it wasn't hers, and I know it wasn't mine. So who else's could it be? Deleted. Wait, are you saying that they fucked in the master bedroom? Huh. 5,914. Don't cheaters always use their married bed? OP. Yes, I believe he did. OOP adds in the comments. Both me and my son are going to get tested and checked out as well. There's no telling how many different women he's been sleeping around with. As for Amy, her mom has been in contact with me, and Amy has been threatening to run away with him because they are in love. Update #2, March 27th, 2024. Thank you again for all the love and encouragement. It gives me comfort and means so much to me. I've received many comments and messages accusing me of faking this story, which oddly also provides comfort because all of this feels unreal even to me. It validates my own feelings that there are people out there who can't even fathom this being true. I wish it were fake. I've been focusing on and worrying about how others are feeling over this, somewhat ignoring my own feelings, which I'm trying to change. I range from anger to numbness like a light switch. We're all safe and still at my brother's house. We're very careful, and his house is secured. Paul has tried to call my cell phone several times a day. I am refusing to interact with him, and I will have my lawyer handle all correspondence. He scares me, frankly. My brother has a very secure house with an alarm system and deadbolt locks. We feel safe with him. Both my son and I got checked out and tested. It appears so far that we're both clean based on the immediate rapid tests, but in the coming days we'll know for certain when the lab results come in. I'm not overly concerned. Eric is scheduled to see a therapist early next week, which is very good and needed. He's not himself right now. He seems a bit shell-shocked, and I am concerned. He internalizes a lot, and it's hard to get a read on what's going on in his head. That being said, he's thoughtful and has been talking with me, asking me how I'm doing and everything. He's not interested in corresponding with his dad at all. He calls only my cell phone, and he hasn't tried to reach out to either Eric or Mary. I get the sense that Paul is extremely nervous. He's scared, and I think he deep down knows that if investigated thoroughly, he would be in big trouble. That's what my gut is telling me. I still think about the Zoom call with him, and the more I think about it, the more it looked like he was a man whose entire world was crashing down on him. The panic in his face was very apparent. I offered Mary for me to make an appointment with a therapist as well, but she doesn't want to see one yet. She said she's open to it eventually, but wants time to herself. She's been asking her friends about her dad and if they experienced any creepiness from him. Her friends were open and honest with her, and apparently they felt like he stared a lot and sensed his hovering presence whenever they were over. One of Mary's friends went so far as to say that she felt like he was checking her out a lot, like looking at her rear and complimenting the color of her yoga pants. At the time, no issue was brought up about it. But in light of everything that has been happening, it seems strange now. He would sit himself in different areas or vantage points to get a good view of her, she claimed. He also asked questions about what kind of friend group or which clique they were in at school. He kept asking about if they were popular girls. I'm completely embarrassed that they had this experience at our house. As for updates on Amy, which is the main reason why I wanted to write this update, I completely agree that she is also a victim. A lot of people have been emphasizing that, and I agree. I've done everything I could in my own power to indirectly get her opportunities to get help. Like I said, I told her mother, and she's been updating me on everything. Amy, unfortunately, is still living in her deluded reality, and I can only pray that she'll eventually come to her senses. She doesn't want to see any doctors or therapists at all, and has been constantly trying to reach Paul because, again, she believes that they are in love. From what I've been told, she hasn't been able to get hold of him, and he's been avoiding communication with her completely. Amy blames me for that, and believes I took away his devices and am very controlling. Any truth that her mother tries to convey to her is met with conspiracy theories and hostility. Amy looks at me as a villain and still sees Paul through rose-colored glasses. Her mother showed her screenshots of his dating app profiles and matches, and she refuses to believe it, saying I photoshopped it. According to her mom, Amy keeps saying things like everyone is just mad because she found herself a real man and that I'm jealous because she takes better care of him than I do. It's in line with some of the conversations I screenshot, where a lot of what Paul says is him complaining about things I don't do for him sexually. Right now, she's insistent that she and Paul will be together in the long run. Ugh, he's honestly a slime ball. I can only hope that Amy comes to her senses, but me directly intervening doesn't feel like it would be productive at the moment. Maybe eventually, though. Relevant comment. Useful underscore. Escape 1845. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. Reading all the previous posts, I honestly get the vibe that your husband wasn't a very good one to begin with. Someday, when you're ready, you're going to find someone who thinks you're glorious as you age. Your son is also going to be okay. He's gotten a lesson on exactly how men shouldn't behave. A painful one, but in time, he's going to realize that Amy was groomed and abused. It sounds like she was vulnerable, and your ex took advantage of a child who was in a bad situation. Hopefully, once Amy has had some time to process just how messed up this was, she'll tell the police the whole story. I fully believe something was happening before she turned 18. OOP, I believe stuff happened before she was 18 too. John Miliano. Do you think they kept that relationship secret for most of Eric and Amy's relationship? What a disgusting father and pig if that is truth. OOP, I'm not sure when things got actually physical or romantic, but I do think his grooming started as soon as she came into the picture when Eric started dating her freshman year. This mentor and a friend that Amy alluded to had to start right away, and the way she's acting now, being so indebted and believing every single thing he says, shows that his effect on her had to be over a long period of time. She only turned 18 like 5 months ago. Her behavior and infatuation for him seems so strong that it couldn't possibly be only 5 months of them being together. Minot_bus 6892. If they are consenting adults, then there is nothing to report. This is a personal problem that needs to be dealt with by attorneys and the people involved. People are way too jumpy to snap to the police to fix their problems anymore. OP is handling this the correct way. If any legal issues come into play, then her attorney will do the right thing. OP. The only thing we can really hang our hat on is the possibility of Amy having an epiphany of the reality of her situation, and she opens up candidly about when it began. But because she's 18 currently and has no interest in saying or doing anything that could potentially put Paul in legal trouble, nothing really can be done. Unless they find out about other girls that I have no idea about yet. Story 12. My dad is trying to force my uncontrollable stepsister on my trip, and I told him I'd never forgive him. Original post. March 4th, 2024. I, 17F, am graduating, and my friends and I have already planned a trip to a cabin for the summer before we start college. I have been a babysitter since I was 13, so I have saved up a considerable amount of money. When I was 15, my dad got remarried about 1.5 years after my mom passed away. My dad's wife had a 13-year-old daughter, and as soon as we moved in together, they started to push her off on me and force us to do everything together. I don't like my stepsister. She's always throwing tantrums if she doesn't get what she wants. She's spoiled to the point that at my 16th birthday, she got her own special cake so she wouldn't feel left out, and she also blew out the candles on my cake, and when I complained, my dad told me, "It's time to grow up. Being a sister is about sharing things." I told him I didn't have a sister, and I guess she overheard and she went on a rampage. The party was ruined. I distanced myself more from them after that. I'm forced to either take her with me to places or stay home with her if I can't take her or my dad or dad's wife can't watch her or don't want to deal with her. Imagine everything that I said she does with my dad and his wife onto a 17-year-old me. I was forced to take her bowling with me, and she would not stop trying to dig her hands in the part where the balls come out, and she tried running down the lane, so I had to take her home and my night was ruined. This happens a lot, but they don't care. I have tried to keep this trip a secret from her, but when I was in my room on the phone talking about it over pizza and music, I found out she snuck in and hid in the closet and was eavesdropping. She bursted out asking if she could come, and I told her no and to get out. She started stomping her feet and she ran out. My friends begged me to not invite her. My dad called me downstairs and asked if she could go because she could use a vacation, and I told him I'm not taking her. They can take her on a vacation, but I'm not watching her for almost 3 weeks alone. My dad's wife called me selfish, and that my dad was paying for a portion of it anyway. And if Lily doesn't go, then I don't get to go. I told her she doesn't get a say in any of this. She's not my mom, and to stop forcing her child on me when she created what she is. Lily starts yelling at me about not being a big sister, and I don't want to spend time with her. I snap and tell her I don't. She ran away crying, and my dad said he won't pay for the rest of my trip if I don't take her. So I told him, if he does that, I will not be talking to him anymore, nor will I forgive him for it. He said I'm being dramatic and she isn't bad. So I grabbed a bag and went to my aunt's house, my mom's sister, and told her what happened, and she said she would put up what he took away, and when I go to college, I can stay with her. I told my dad what I was doing, and he blew up at me and said I was being a brat, and they're my family now and not my aunt. As far as I know, she does not have any disabilities. She's been to doctors and therapy. She's just insanely spoiled, and that's how she's always gotten her way when told no. The first time I met her, everyone agreed on Mexican except her, and she was yelling in the car for 10 minutes before she calmed down by her mom appeasing her. Then she goes back on her phone texting. If she does, then that explains why she acts that way, and I can take it that she can't help it. But I still shouldn't be forced to watch her 24/7. Relevant comma. Commenter, your aunt is acting more of a family than your dad. I agree. See if you can live with your aunt now. Are you dependent on your dad for college? OOP, I am not. My mom left me money for 2 years. I decided to do an RN program and then go back once I work and save up more money. Commenter, if you are being truthful about Lily's behaviors, it sounds like she has some sort of emotional or intellectual impairment. Has she had a formal diagnosis? OP, no, she is just extremely spoiled and acts like this to get her way. She knows she just has to cry a bit and stomp around and they'll give in. To another commenter, she does not have any mental problems. She's just spoiled. She's been to doctors and therapy. To a deleted and downvoted comment, I don't have nor did I want a sister. It's not even like they tried to slowly bring us together. They forced her on me. She constantly throws tantrums. So if any small thing is about me, she needs to be center of attention. She may be a child, but she is not my child, and I shouldn't have had to become a parent because of my dad's wife's lack of parenting. Commenter, how far away from 18 are you? I would slowly start moving important things to your aunt's house and then move in the day you turn 18. Make sure you let your school know not to contact your dad anymore and that you are living with your aunt. OP. I turn 18 in September. I have read the comments, and I am making lists of everything I need to get and put at my aunt's house. On being the bigger person, I don't have to be the bigger person. I'm tired of being neglected and having her forced on me. I'm going on this trip without her, and if that ends up with me not talking to my dad anymore, so be it. He's the adult and parent here. Update post, August 30th, 2024, almost 6 months later. I know a lot of people wanted an update to my last post. I can't post a link so you can go to my profile to see it. The trip happened and I did not end up taking her like I said I wasn't. From the time that I posted that up until the time that I left, the household was very tense and awkward. I was not speaking to any of them. The only person I had to confide in and talk to my aunt, and I'm so grateful for her. My dad still thought that I was going to bring her on the trip, and I kept telling him that I am not watching her and she is not coming with me. The morning of the trip we left at like 6 in the morning. When he called me, I was already about 5 hours out, so he couldn't do anything. When I got back, it was a lot of yelling and crying from me and my dad and his wife. She said that I left them in a tough position and they had to stay home because they couldn't get anyone to watch Lily. My dad and I had a serious talk for hours, and he agreed that maybe we need to separate so we can work on our relationship. Which hurt me because I would have liked for him to tell me I can stay in my own home while we do it. But I did end up going to my aunt's house with no issues. My dad and I started family therapy with just the two of us. His wife was pretty upset he was actually listening to me and was seeing where I was coming from. Right when we were getting good and building a better relationship, I came over for dinner, and he asked if we could integrate his wife and Lily into therapy, and I told him that I had no interest in having a relationship with them. She called me a selfish C******, and that I need to be grateful that she let me stay with them after she moved in. I waited for my dad to correct her, and he was silent pretty much, so I left, and I haven't talked to him in almost a month. He keeps showing me that he will not be on my side. So, to wrap things up, the cabin trip was so much fun. I have never felt so free from a burden. The trip was in June, and we were there for almost a month. We extended it. When I was packing for school, my dad came to visit, and I guess his wife called, and he had to lie about where he was because I guess she doesn't want him to see me. So I told him, we don't need to have contact right now or continue therapy because it's clear which part of his family he cares more about. I don't know what's going to become of my dad, and right now I don't care. I'm focused on school and studying to become a nurse. I don't want any negativity to ruin this experience, but I'd be lying if I said it doesn't hurt that I don't have a parent to experience this with. But my aunt says she is my surrogate mom and to share all my worries and success with her. I am currently in my first week of college, and the amount of freedom I feel here is also so new. I am a little overwhelmed, but I am in an honors club. I also am in a creative writing book club, and the friends I have made are so amazing. I am currently living on campus, and I have never been better mentally. I am getting separate therapy to deal with my mom's death, because that was never offered to me by my dad. My aunt has truly become a mother figure to me. Being 2 states away from her is really hard, but I can't wait for weekend visits and holiday visits. Also, another thing is that I'm going to be a godmother. My aunt was told at 22 that she would never be able to have kids, and she is currently 4 months pregnant. And I'm so excited because if anybody is going to be a good mother, I know it's going to be her. When she came to visit and tell me I think she saw I was a little worried. I told her I am so excited and happy for her, and nothing will change that, but she's the only family I have right now, and don't want to get left behind like I did at home, and we cried, and she promised me that she was filling in for my mom, and she will be there for the rest of my life, whether I like it or not. I am planning the baby shower, and I can't wait for the baby to be here. But yeah, that's it. Thank all for checking up on me and giving me encouraging words. Relevant comment. Commenter. I just don't understand how your dad doesn't see that Lily is a massive problem if they have to hire a babysitter at her age or being 15. And they were stuck at home with her as a result. OP, he doesn't want to see it, or he does and cares more about keeping his wife happy? Commenter. Also, what do you write about in this writers' club? OOP. Bring in work you have written and share it. Write flash fiction from the same prompt. Write poems. Watch videos or lectures about writing techniques. Talk about writing contests or places to submit stories. We're talking about incorporating improv so we can be creative that way with our stories. Commenter. Downvoted. I feel like you should have set some better boundaries instead of just giving up. You need to lay it out for him. Do you really think she's good for your life if she's keeping you away from your daughter? Are you really a man and a father? If you're going to let a woman dictate what you can and can't do? I would tell him straight up you don't have the luxury of giving up because you made me, so I would appreciate if you get a goddamn backbone and start acting like it. OOP. That's fair, and I respect your opinion, but it's not my job to try and fix anything or set boundaries anymore. We did talk about it in therapy, and he still tried to integrate them into the sessions when I have expressed hundreds of times I do not want that, so I'm done trying. I'm the child in this situation. Story 13. My 25M girlfriend, 23F, has been weird since having a cedar at my parents'. May 2024. So, I've been dating my girlfriend Lily for a little over a year. It had been going great, and we were getting very serious, even talking about moving in together. So, my parents asked me to invite her over to their house for a Passover Seder last month. For those who don't know Passover, it's basically like a meal combined with a story to celebrate the story of Exodus, the Jews being freed from slavery in Egypt, Moses, etc. I've only had one other serious girlfriend when I was in college, and she was Jewish. Lily is not Jewish. But honestly, my parents don't care. They didn't really like my ex, and seemed to really like Lily. I grew up very secularly. All that being said, there are a lot of Jewish-specific things happening during a Passover Seder, so I think my parents, especially my dad, felt this need to maybe over-explain things to Lily, and it seemed to make her uncomfortable. I didn't say anything at the time, which I regret, because I did notice that she seemed off, like quieter than usual. But I also thought that she might just be a little quiet because she was meeting my parents, and that saying something might draw more attention to it, which she wouldn't want. Not an excuse, just an explanation of my mindset at the time. Anyway, since then, and it's been nearly a month, Lily's been kind of distant. She usually spends most nights at my apartment, but has only been over a couple of times and hasn't wanted to have sex. I noticed this within a week and tried to talk to her about it. I apologized for my parents' behavior and emphasized that I love her, and her not being Jewish doesn't matter to me. She just turned kind of blushed bright red and said it was fine. But it's obviously not fine, and she doesn't want to talk about it. Does anyone have any advice on how to broach this again or what to do or say? I'm really lost, and I don't want to lose my relationship over this. TLDR. My non-Jewish girlfriend came to my family's Seder, and my parents over-explained all the Jewish concepts, and now she seems more distant but won't discuss it with me. Commenters encourage OOP to have a frank conversation with his girlfriend. Some suggest that she might be nervous because his Jewish culture is so different from hers. Some suggest she might be rethinking an interfaith relationship. OOP says, no. I guess I hadn't considered that because she knew I was Jewish when we first met and it had never been an issue. But maybe you're right because this is the first Jewish ritual or holiday she's ever participated in. As I said, I was raised very secularly, so it's just never come up. It would make me incredibly sad if that broke us up. I'm not planning to have any kids for at least a few years minimum, but I would be happy to raise them in multiple traditions when I do. Update. May 2024, 1 week after original post. It's been a weird fucking week, so I apologize if this isn't the most coherent update. After I posted, I really appreciated the advice noting that I might be making some assumptions about what was upsetting my GF, Lily, so I asked her if we could talk and that I just wanted to be open with each other. She agreed to meet up on Friday after work, when we normally would anyway for a date. So I made a nice meal for her at my apartment, her favorite thing that I cook, this creamy, lemony pasta dish, and then afterwards I tried to just kind of have this open-ended conversation about what I noticed, for example, how she's been more distant, and was there something wrong? She was really hesitant, just looking kind of nervous, and then she just kind of blurted out that the Seder made her uncomfortable. Okay, so that's what I thought, right? So I figure, okay, let's talk this through. It turns out that while she knew I was Jewish, she didn't think I was so Jewy until she came to the Seder. I cringed and told her that the word Jewy was inappropriate and she did not like me saying that. There's a part of the Passover Seder where we say, next year in Jerusalem, just like a kind of hopeful attitude in light of the Jewish diaspora, I think. Anyway, she said that she found that part really inappropriate given the current war in Gaza. I told her that those things were not connected. My family has no real connection to Israel, and the Seder is a hundreds, maybe thousands, years-old tradition that long predates the modern state of Israel. She didn't seem to care about that. So, I finally asked her if she had a problem being in a relationship with me given my Jewishness. She emphatically stated that no, she loves me, but it was a shock, and she needs time. That really threw me, though, and I asked her what she needs time for, but she didn't have a real answer. So I went to my parents for the weekend to just kind of get away since I wasn't sure what all this meant. While I was gone, I got an alert on my phone that an AirTag was following me. I found it hidden in my car. I called Lily and she denied it was hers, but I was pretty sure she was lying since she's not a good liar. Finally, she admitted she was trying to see where I was going, and if it was to the temple. I honestly haven't been inside a temple since my bar mitzvah almost 13 years ago. Anyway, it should go without saying that I ended it. I blocked her on everything. I destroyed her AirTag, too. No clue what the fuck is wrong with her, but it feels anti-Semitic, I guess. Wish I had a happier update. I thought she was the one, but fuck me, I guess. TLDR. My girlfriend made some vaguely anti-Semitic comments and tried to track me to see if I was going to a synagogue, so I ended it. Eat it. I finally read through all, I think all, of the comments. To those that made me laugh, I sincerely thank you. I'm very stoned right now eating sour gummies and laugh-crying at stupid movies. That's my coping mechanism, and I recognize it's not healthy, especially with my Ashkenazi gastrointestinal issues. Anyway, to those who think this was an issue she had with my being religious, I don't think you understand what Judaism and Jewishness is. I'm not religious, I'm actually an atheist. Her issue was with my cultural background. She didn't see my culture because I guess it's not on display all the time? I mean, I think I have a pretty stereotypically Jewish sense of humor, but maybe she didn't put that together. Anyway, the more I think about it, the more I realize what other people said here is true. She wanted me to be generically white, and when she realized I was more ethnic than that, she had an issue with it. That's anti-Semitism, full stop. I did end up telling some mutual friends the full story, and one of them told me they actually suspected she might have some conspiracy theories rattling around in her head which, if true, is like, fuck, I don't even know. He thinks she was attempting to track me because of some protocols of the elders of Zion crap she might believe, like she was hoping I would lead her to the secret meeting. I honestly hope that's not true, and I take it with a massive grain of salt. To those who think this was a made-up post, I fucking wish. I honestly feel like maybe this is a weird dream I'm going to wake up from, and my perfect, beautiful girlfriend will still be there. But she's not who I thought she was. It's all too real. I'm not going to wade into the political quagmire except to say that my ex-girlfriend's issues with me was about way more than a war thousands of miles away. I don't actually think she and I probably disagree all that much on how we feel about that war. If you can't separate those things and see the anti-Semitism behind her actions and attitudes and language, then you are part of the problem. Hope you all enjoy the lemon pasta. Commenters are upset on OOP's behalf about his ex-girlfriend's anti-Semitism and erratic behavior, but agree that the traditions of the Jewish faith, like Passover and Seder, have little to do with the political problems going on with Israel currently. They encourage OOP to move forward with his life. OP provides the recipe for the creamy lemony pasta dish. https://cooking.nighttimes/recipes/1589-linguine- with lemon sauce. I double the recipe and use more cheese and lemon zest than it calls for, but not exact amounts. Just kind of go with the flow on adding more. Commenters simmer down after being provided with the recipe for lemony pasta. Recipe for lemon pasta, for those who can't access it from the website. Ingredients: 2 tablespoons butter, 1 tablespoon freshly grated lemon zest plus more for serving, 1/2 pound fresh or dried linguine, 4 tablespoons heavy cream, 2 tablespoons freshly squeezed lemon juice, 2 tablespoons freshly grated Parmesan cheese, plus extra cheese to serve on the side. Preparation: bring a pot of salted water to boil. Heat the butter in a skillet and add the lemon zest. Drop the linguine into the boiling water. Cook pasta according to package directions. Drain. Add the cream to the butter and lemon zest mixture. Add the pasta and lemon juice and stir until just heated through. Add the Parmesan and toss. Serve with additional Parmesan and lemon zest on the side. Tip: if fresh linguine is purchased in 9-ounce weight, use this in lieu of the 1/2 pound. Story 14. My childhood bully has become my coworker and she's bullying me again. Original post May 18th, 2024. When I, 18F, was in 5th grade, age 10, 11 for any non-Americans, there was these new twins who moved from the other side of the country to join my class. For some reason, these 2 kids did everything they could to make my life miserable. I think it's because I was socially unaware and a bit odd as a child, but I'm not sure. The boy twin was this very big kid who would regularly beat me up, and the girl twin would humiliate and spread rumors about me. Of course, the teachers never did anything about it. Luckily, these 2 went to different middle and high schools, so I wasn't bullied and I had a pleasant time in school after that. Most kids were not happy about going to middle school, but I was excited for them to stop torturing me. However, last month, I got a job at a new grocery store in my neighborhood. However, last week, the girl who bullied me got a job at the same grocery store. At first, I thought, it's been 7 years, she probably changed. But just now a few coworkers asked me, "Did you really have sex with the manager so you could get hired here?" I shouted at them, "No!" and asked them where they heard that. And they said, "The new girl told us." I don't want to go through this again. I am genuinely considering switching jobs to get away from her. I feel so lost and helpless. Relevant comment. Throwaway 070879. HR is your friend in these situations. She's making it a hostile work environment. Get a notepad and write down every time with the date and time and what the incident was. Keep a record of it. If you work at a small store with no HR, then go to management, but skip management. If you have an HR, go to HR first. I'm almost positive your manager doesn't want the reputation of being a sleaze and making 18-year-olds sleep with him to get hired. If he's a decent person, at least. OP. The store doesn't have an HR, but I'll talk to my manager when I see him. Update. I stood up to my childhood bully as an adult May 20th, 2024. This post is an update from my previous post. I'd recommend reading that post first. The last few days have been pretty chaotic. First of all, I found out the new girl at my workplace, who was my childhood bully, was spreading another rumor, claiming that my boobs were fake. I took the advice of most of the people in the comments of my post and sent an email to my manager telling him about how she made up a rumor claiming that I slept with him to get hired. He responded, saying that this is a very serious issue and that he wants me to come into work tomorrow to get my side of the story because my bully had a shift then. The manager came in, looking absolutely furious. My manager spoke with her, me and a few of my co-workers to see what was going on. After my manager spoke with my bully, I saw her leaving. She came up to me, said, "Fuck you, you tattletale slut," and left. I asked my manager what happened with her at the end of my shift. He said, "I spoke with her about the bullshit she was spewing. She tried acting innocent, but everyone I asked said that she was the one who made that shit up. She's fired. We don't have to worry about her anymore." I was kind of hoping that she would throw a temper tantrum, but that didn't happen. I finally stood up to her, thanks to the advice and words of support from Reddit. I'm pretty sure my past self, the little girl who had her backpack stuffed in a shit-filled toilet on her 11th birthday, would be so proud of me. Relevant comment. Little underscore yesterday. Some people never really move past high school. OP. Even worse, in her case, she bullied me when we were in 5th grade. Story 15. My boss excessively photoshops herself on our company's social media. Original post September 23, 2019. I work at a respected firm in a niche industry. I graduated college this year, so I'm the newest person here. Besides my manager, I'll call her Elizabeth, everyone else has worked here for 15 years or more and has decades of experience in the industry. When Elizabeth was hired as a manager last year, the firm didn't have any kind of social media presence. She changed that, and she set up social media accounts for the firm. The industry is changing, and other firms as well as our clients all use it now. Since she was the only person at the firm who knew how to use and run social media, she was put in charge of the accounts. There is something Elizabeth is doing which makes her and the firm looks bad and is causing problems with our clients and in general. When she is in a photo she posts to our social media, she photoshops herself. I don't mean she removes one blemish. She makes herself taller, thinner, lengthens her hair and her legs, makes her teeth whiter, etc. The photoshopping is not great, and anyone can tell she has altered the photo. She has accidentally given herself an extra arm or hand, removed a leg, or posted with a distorted or bent background. Sometimes the changes to her nose, eye color, or chest size make her look like a different person. When the photo is taken at a conference or client event, Elizabeth will look completely different in photos taken and posted by others at the event versus the ones she posts herself. If she is posing with a group and several people take photos of them, in the one Elizabeth posts she will be the tallest instead of the shortest, 75 pounds lighter, and her face will be filtered. The differences between the photos will be staggering and not subtle. Tables and door frames in the background will be bent, and other people in the photo around her will look distorted. She never photoshops anyone else, but sometimes they look distorted or cut off because of the changes to her. Clients and people from other firms have called us out online and privately. I think it makes our credibility look bad, But when I asked Elizabeth about the policy on photoshopping photos, she said I should understand how hard it is for women who have body issues when the standards of beauty are impossible. The firm's owner and others at the firm don't have a clue about social media and don't know what she is doing. I am half a foot taller than Elizabeth, but in a photo she made herself taller than me. Her hips were at my chest and it looked bizarre. My torso was partially missing where she slimmed hers. Clients have accused her and the firm of deception, and I know of 2 who have taken their business elsewhere because she photoshopped photos of herself at their events or lied about doing it when they asked her about our social media. This looks bad to our clients and others in the industry. How do I make the firm's owner and higher-ups aware of this? Elizabeth is my manager and got angry when I asked her about it. She has been here longer and knows them better. This firm is well known and respected, and we are losing credibility in business because of her. Update December 17, 2019. I don't know what or how it happened, but someone who doesn't work here did tell someone higher up. Elizabeth got fired. So did a higher-up who was friends with her. Apparently he knew about the complaints and didn't alert anyone else. The owner is furious. No one knows I knew anything since I didn't handle the social media, and I plan to keep it that way because of how furious the owner and other higher-ups are. A separate, qualified social media person, marketing person, was brought on, and the firm's social media has been revamped and apologies issued by the firm, so the problem is solved. To answer some questions, commenters asked, Elizabeth was manager of client relations, and I was her only report. She wasn't the only one from the firm who went to events, and she wasn't the main or only one appearing on our social media. Other men and women from the firm appeared on it in equal measure, and it's not like Elizabeth was close to being in every single photo. We do have long-time clients, but our contracts are single-purpose and not ongoing. It's like if a couple hires an event planner for their wedding. After their wedding, they may never hire the event planner again, or they hire them again for a birthday or a party. This industry is the same. A few not giving us new business wouldn't have raised alarms, especially since none were long-term clients. I knew why clients left and what Elizabeth had said to them since they complained to clients' relations, where I work. All the clients that did complain were not happy about other people at their events getting distorted in the photos, and Elizabeth blatantly lying, saying the photos weren't altered. OP made one more update in the comments. I'm the one who wrote into Allison about my boss photoshopping herself. Shortly after I sent in my update, the owner somehow figured or found out I knew about the complaints and what Elizabeth was doing, and I was also fired for not telling anyone. On the upside, I have had 3 job interviews in last week and a half, and I have a phone interview tomorrow. I wouldn't have gotten them without the help of this site, and I'm hoping to get an offer soon. Happy New Year to Allison and all who read here.